excited today to give the message. I apologize, YouTube. We had a little bit of issue having you, but as always, we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him. For my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life to say to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We're thankful and grateful to have everybody on with us on this rising. So thank you for being on with us. We appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us one more again. I do apologize about last night. Tried to send word out to ministerial staff and moderators, and my wife is on. How you doing, babe? Once again, check her out at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. I sent a message out, trying to get the message and try to even put on Facebook that wasn't going to be able to be before you all last night. But we thank you guys. We appreciate you. We honor your presence, and we hope that you guys are, in fact, doing well. We're thankful and appreciative to everybody, and we're hopeful and grateful that these messages have been helping you turn your life around or continue your life in the correct direction. Tomorrow is Shabbat, as far as on the Gregorian calendar. It is Saturday, so please, man, please, sir, we ask that you guys, we're back on track with our regular stuff accordingly. Tomorrow should be June the 1st, and tomorrow being June the 1st, we will be looking at having, hold on one second for me. Excuse me. So tomorrow will be June the 1st. So tomorrow we should be on, we should be having our SOC community meeting / watch party. We'll be doing that on Clapper. You should get a Google Calendar invite. We'll try to put that information out on all the platforms to make sure everybody is reminded of it. So if you can, please, ma'am, please, sir, join us for that. Also, too, tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, we will have our men's meeting. So, brothers, if you're able to join us for that, we would love to have you for about an hour or so, and be able to get into Yah's word. And then I believe on Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, we will have our When Life Happens. So if you'd like to be able to be part of that, feel free to join up for that. And ministerial staff, of course, will be back on track with our prayers, 7 a.m. Eastern New York time, with Minister and Nice taking the lead. So we're thankful and grateful to everybody for being on. We appreciate you for being on any platform you're on, whether you're joining us on the podcast, later on Clapper, if you're joining us on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok. We appreciate your presence very much. We are going to be going to Hosea chapter 4 and reading, starting at verse 1. I'm not sure how many verses. We might go through verse 8 or so. But if you can go ahead and turn there in your Bibles or in your scrolls, in your Savad, in your Kefir. And while we're turning there, let me say hello to everybody real quick. And once you have it, let us know by just saying amen, or I got it, or I'm with you, etc. And we appreciate everybody's presence once again. Let's say shalom to everybody. Peace. How you doing, Wes? How you doing, Sister Joy, Cultural Prospect, Coleman? Once again, to my wife, the Honorable Amma, thank you for being on, baby. Love you very much. How you doing, Sister Nadine? Charles, Joseph, Brother Vincent, everybody, come on in. Sabria, I think I might have said that already, but Yaquab, Brooklyn Zone, Wavy Davy. Okay, how you doing? Is it, I'm not sure if I'm going to say this anywhere close, but either Isu or Yizu Shatifa. How you doing, Letha, Mr. J, G.A., Crazy Dog, Robert Jones, David Ditto, Real Mike Lowry, Keith Pope, King of the United Nations, Lottie Dine, everybody. Appreciate your presence. Come on in. How you doing, Ms. Reed? How you doing? Hola, como esta? Mi hermana, Sherry. Hopefully everything is well with everyone. We appreciate you. How you doing, Brother Charles? And I know there's a couple of you that were asking me for some numbers. I wasn't able to get them to you yesterday, but we'll try to get you those numbers for those of you who are seeking to be able to contact SOC in your area. So just give me a little bit today and we will get that out to you. How you doing, Sister Renee? Praise God for you. And hopefully Brother Torino is doing well. Lottie Dottie, everybody. All right, we're going to Hosea chapter 4. We're going to start at verse 1. We'll probably read through verse 8, but we'll see where the Holy Spirit leads us. Once you have it, say amen, say I got it, say I'm with you. Amen. And if you're able to, we'll do our Bible pledge real quick as well. hold me accountable. For some reason, I've been sometimes missing out on the Bible pledge. Don't know what that's about. But we'll make sure we start off with it. I haven't been forgetting it, but I've been forgetting it at the beginning where it should be. Once again, we're going to Hosea chapter 4 and verse 1. And once again, prayerfully, everybody's been doing well. Prayerfully, everybody's been getting ready. June 16th, by the way, we're looking at in Lanham, Maryland, June 16th. We've been putting the information out. We've been putting flyers out. We've been putting the flyer on the shout out as well. And so please, if you can, please, ma'am, please, sir, if you can join us June 16th, whether virtually or physically, we're going to be at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. That is a Sunday. And that gives us, about 3 weeks, or at least 3 Sundays, just about, right? Because today's Friday, to be ready for that. And so we'll be talking a lot more about it. We've already been talking about it somewhat. But we'll have a few things specific just for Pentecost coming up soon. So if you guys please can be ready for those, for that, we would appreciate you doing so. Amen. Alrighty, sorry, I'm sitting up here looking at some other stuff for today. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let's go to Hosea chapter 4. We're going to start at verse 1. Once you guys have it, once again, say amen. Say I got it. Say I'm with you. We'll get ready to do our Bible pledge. And if you'd like to put your right hand up, or your device up, or if you'd like to put your Bible up in your right hand and just get ready to repeat after me. Praise y'all. How's everybody doing? How you doing, Stephanie? How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? Thought I saw somebody else come in here already. But we appreciate everybody. All right, so here we go. Here's our Bible pledge. It goes as follows. How you doing, Donovan? How you doing, Aaron? This is my Bible. This is my sword. In this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard, for this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hashem Yechavach, Amen, which is in Yahweh's name. Amen. Alrighty. Hosea chapter 4, starting at verse 1. It reads as follows. Hear the word, hear the Savah, hear the scrolls, hear the Zara, even the seed, hear the word of Yahweh. Ye children of Yahshua, for Yahweh hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. He has a problem. Because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge or intimacy, no knowledge of Elohim in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls, with the birds of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Yet let no man strive, nor reprove another, for this people, for this nation, are as they that strive with the priest. Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night. And I will destroy thy mother. Verse 6, we know this one. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy Elohim. I will also forget thy children. Verse 7, as they were increased, as your children were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore I will change their glory, the glory they put on themselves, into shame. Verse 8, they eat up the sin of my people, and they set their heart on iniquity. Let's go a little further. Verse 9, and there shall be like people, like priests, and I will punish them for their ways and reward them their doings. We just read Hosea chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. May Yahweh have a blessing to the readers, hearers, and especially the doers of his most holy word. You may be seated to go back to what you were doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. Today, we're sent with the same theme. Simple, plain, but a little shocking. The theme is a class of punishment. A class of punishment. A class of punishment. How you doing, Shanghai? All right. So if we're talking about a punishment, now you know there's different classes, right? There's the working class. There's the poor class, right? There is the rich class, the wealthy class, the middle class. Maybe even think there's a class of people. There's a smarter class. But I'm here to tell you that the only reason why people come into a class of anything, I've been sent on behalf of the Most High, led by the Vachakodash, to help you to recall or to learn, if you've never thought about it, that the only reason that people are in classes is not simply because they don't have money. But the reason people are not in classes is because they lack information. And however you are informed, watch this, family. However you are informed is what class you shall be in. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? A class of punishment. Here, when you read this with more context, because we usually only read verse 6, right? My people, right? My people are destroyed, or my people perish, or my people miss out, or my people go through things. Why? Because of a lack of intimacy or knowledge. But we forget it starts at Hosea chapter 4, verse 1, talking about there's a lack of knowledge, and the lack of knowledge causes all of the issues that we're having, the sin that we're living in. And the further away we get from knowledge, the more issues we have. How you doing, brother? How you doing, Brother Charlie? The further away we get from these issues, or information, the knowledge of Yah, the more issues that we have. And that means, and we read down that there's a punishment that happens, including with the priest, right? So the lack of knowledge leads to punishment. And so sin, there comes with something for punishment. Now, we have to make sure that we start off in the midst of this. How you doing, Yah Salman? We have to make sure that we start off in the beginning of this as well with recalling, who is the Bible written to? How you doing, Brother Dwayne? For it is not written to everyone, correct? It is written to those who are the children of the Most High. To Yahasharal, to those who shall be grafted in, to Radach Shamayam. Everyone in the kingdom, how you doing, Brother Charles, the OG, double OG? Everyone who is in the kingdom, right, is subject to the law. And so therefore the children are the ones who will deal with punishment from the Most High, right? Others will deal with hell, which is, you could call punishment, sure, but really is, I would say, more a consequence of deciding that they would go ahead and be the children of the devil, or maybe even punishment if they purposefully decided that this would be for children, they would be children of the devil. But this punishment in particular, my people, that means my nation, my children, right? My children, they're dealing with what? Verse 6. We love verse 6. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people, my children, they what? Are destroyed. And it even talks about blood touches blood. So they even destroy each other. Even if you want to go to the black on black crime stuff and all that, whatever they want to call it. My people, my nation is destroyed, but for a lack of knowledge. Because I lack intimacy with Yah, it causes destruction, but that's a destruction that's punished. Now, this word that they use for punishment, when you look it up in your concordance, is very peculiar. And we are peculiar people, so we should make sure we pay attention to peculiar things, especially concerning the kingdom. This word that they're using here, that is this word that we like, once again, this word called, or not like, but this word that's used here, that's written, called punishment. This word punishment, it means that they're actually talking about someone who is sought out. Right? There is punishment involved in this definition of the word that's used here, but they're actually talking about Yah is seeking out. Right? Yah is looking for. Yah is punishing those who he has relationship with. This word punishment is not just your random, oh, okay, I just punished you, or you didn't pass the test to punish you. It means that because you have a relationship, he's going to punish you because you are his child, right? So this is what we would call back in the day a whooping, right? This is a spanking. This is a whipping. This is not just getting the corner. This is a punishment. This is something that's reserved for those who are the children of the Most High. You get the worst whippings because he chastises those who he loves. People all the time, how do people get away with this? And how do people get away with murder? How do people get away with all this stuff? And Donald Trump did all this stuff and all these things, and they drug us through the whole thing, and now he's not even going to get any punishment, which shouldn't be a surprise to you all, but nevertheless, right? Like he was guilty of 34 counts, and there's not going to be any punishment. He doesn't have to serve any jail time, at least allegedly, according to the news, right? According to different things that have been reported. And people got, how does that happen? Well, because you are sitting up here thinking that Yah is in control of that government. That's not his government. His law is to protect you from that government. How you doing, Sister Nadine? His law is to protect us, right? Law doesn't give rights. Law protects rights. And he's protecting your rights by keeping you out of that. And that's why we told people last year, this is going to be a distraction. Get ready. Here they come. They're going to start trying to get you to vote for who's the most important person. The Democrats versus Republicans are shaping up. Joe Biden's going to start talking about reparations stuff again. Donald Trump's going to start talking about that he's going to do this and he's going to take over, blah, blah. Everybody's going to tell you the world is ending. Sorry, TikTok, give me a second. Right? Everybody's going to tell you these different things. And be careful. Be careful. Why? Because people are trying to get you and I to come outside of what? Intimacy with Yah. And start talking about the world. The world has nothing for us. We're not worried about what the world is presenting. How you doing, yes, my God? Right? We're not concerned about the things of this world. The things of the world are not my concern, right? My concern is that if I go into the world, I still have to be not of it. So my standard is still Shamayim. It's still Ladach Shamayim. It's still the righteous system of Yah. The righteous patterns of Yah, the righteous thought process of Yah, right? But my people are destroyed, thus saith the Lord, right? For lack of intimacy, with lack of knowledge of who he is. And we're trying our best to use worldly prisms to be able to inform us about spiritual right. We're trying to use constitutional values of a wicked system that is actually promoting a false sense of government, that really the government comes through a corporation, not even a country. 50 countries that have plotted to come together corporatively and now affect you to where you don't have family prayer, you don't have kingdom prayer, you don't even have church prayer, you have corporate prayer. Even though you are not part of or at least you shouldn't be part of a corporation. Now many churches are incorporated, but you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be part of a family. Right? Now, it's important that we catch this, that when it's saying that punishment, and we're seeing that this word punishment means that Yah is seeking, because this tells us something very interesting and something very sinister is going on because it's been hidden from you. That the Most High seeks those who he loves when they fall away to punish them. We seek the Most High, right? Because we're his children, right? And we seek him because we love him, right? But when we stop seeking him as his children, then he goes and he looks for us. Put it like this. How you doing, Brother Raj? Put it like this. Anybody recall this? Maybe not everybody had this exact experience, but you had something similar. I'm going to use the street light as an example. Parent might say, boy, girl, you better be home before that street light come on. Right? They might give you that as the command. All right, cool, no problem. I already know I'm supposed to be before the street light. All of a sudden it gets later, we having fun playing basketball, somebody want to do something outside of that, and I can see that the time is getting close. I'm used to every day being outside. I kind of have this inward clock, right? This inner clock that says, hey, you know, it's time for you to get home before the street light. How you doing, Jad? Right, but something says stay out. What happens? How you doing, Frank? because you belong to a house, because you belong to a household, because you belong to a family, because your mother, your father, your parents have said the street light is when you come back home. Because you belong to that family and they don't see you, right? They go looking for you. They don't go looking for everybody else's child. Although if they might see a child out there, they might say go home. They don't go looking for everybody else. They don't go looking for people in other countries. They don't call around to everybody else's family and say, hey, is your child home? Is your child home? Is your child home? Right? Unless they're trying to find you. They're going out to find you. And they're going out seeking you. And also seeking, you better have a great excuse. Or you better have a reason. Something better be extremely wrong for you to be out here past the street light, because you know literally what time it is. Right? And so if you're going to go ahead and be disobedient with the street light when they find you, they're not worried about trying to make things nice. They're not trying to make sure work on things being pure. They're not trying. No. When they find you, they have a mind to punish you. That's what that word punishment is talking about. That's the context of it, right? The definition of it even. With that word punishment that's being used there is saying specifically they are looking, right? Your father is looking for you because you got out of pocket. He told you the law. He told you the command. He told you to be in before that street light. He told you you are the light. He told you you're supposed to be governed by this law and all these commandments. And then you decided you was going to do something completely against what he told you to do. And so now here he comes. He's looking for you, right? And as he's looking for you, you better recognize there's chastisement, for he chastises those whom he loves. Correct? You see the difference? How you doing? Oh yeah. How's everybody doing? Right. Thank you for being on the podcast. Later on Clapper, on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube. We appreciate you. Right. So since you decided that you were going to stay out, how you doing? Into the deep. And since you decided you were going to do something outside of the will of your father has left looking for you. Now, really, in our household, the father, well, I'll leave it like that. We'll leave it like that for now. Praise God. Right. So we can tell that a lot of people who are talking about frustration, issues, upset, etc., a lot of you are dealing with things because you have gone outside of the house, outside of the family, outside of Jehovah's will for you. Right? And so now the Most High is looking for you, and now you're going to deal with what? Punishment, with consequence. How you doing, Sister Monica? Be safe. How you doing, Remnant 144? Right? So now you're going to have to deal with consequences. Why? Because you didn't stay in the house. You didn't stay under the protection. You didn't stay within the law. So, right? So when we get to the place of verse 6, we're going to go back to verse 1, but when we get to Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, we're already in the midst of a conversation that says, hey, because you guys have not acknowledged all this sin has happened, and because all this sin has happened, sin destroys. Sin destroys our relationship. Sin destroys my will for you. Sin destroys perfection. Sin doesn't allow the law to protect you, right? Sin, remember, a way of saying sin is anything that causes us to miss the mark. How you doing, Brother Jared? When you get to that point, when you get to that scripture that says, train up a child in the way that they should go, so when they grow old, they shall not depart from it, it's actually something talking about, hey, take the arrow out of the quiver, right? And the arrow is the child. It's actually talking about that, and aim them at the target. And when you release them, right, if you aim them correctly, they should not depart from where you aimed. But if you allow all these different things to get in your child's heart and the child's mind, well, then now you got to a place to where you might miss the target. Sometimes you might unintentionally miss the target. That's why you should probably train yourself. This is why we're supposed to be raised as men and women, as husbands and wives, as mothers and fathers, before we even talk about marriage, right? You're supposed to be already a wife before you are found. You're supposed to be a husband before you find a wife. You're supposed to be a child of the Most High who's qualified to raise other children to be like you before you have a child. You're supposed to bring this before the community, and we're supposed to come and touch and agree on what it is, right? But because we've gotten so far away from that, if you were to tell a man, let's be honest, brothers. Let's have some honest dialogue real quick. If we were to just be honest, a lot of brothers don't want to hear another brother tell them anything about how to raise their child. And I get it, but hear what I'm saying. It's not because the brother doesn't have anything righteous. It's because we've been raised to say, shoot, I don't need nobody to tell me nothing. right? But why don't we have anybody to help us? Why don't we have anybody that speak life into us? Why don't we make sure that we have elders that speak into us? The sisters don't want to hear anybody talking about how to be a wife or this and that or whatever. But the Bible declares in Titus that you should have the elder sisters make sure that they're looking out for the younger sisters and teaching them. But the reason that we don't do it is because what? Ignorance. We got away from something as simple as, hey, men should teach their sons. Hey, women should teach their daughters. Hey, husbands and wives should exist so that we see husbands and wives, right? Hey, our community should be involved in marriage. We got away from something as simple as that, and now because we gotten away from something that simple, now we have generations raised off of that. And so now you can't tell nobody anything about relationships. Why? Because you can't tell me nothing. I'm an adult. I've got this many children. I've done this. Yeah, okay, fine. And what does your community look like? Hey, how you doing, Joseph? How you doing, Sister Deborah? Yeah, what does your community look like? And thank you for the love. And how you doing, Demetria? What does your community look like? After all this stuff that you don't need anybody, that you don't need to be taught. Matter of fact, you don't say that when it's time to go to school. Why? Because you got to go to school to go to somebody else's educational system. And once you go through somebody else's educational system, since now you owe them a whole bunch of money for the rest of your life, you got to make sure that you go out and get a job by them and hope that they don't throw you too many pennies so that maybe you can kind of sort of retire and have only a few bills left over and still be paying on your house and still be paying on this. For those who are coming up in the next generation, won't even be able to afford a house. But you're not worried about making sure that you have anything that's generational wealth to leave for them so that they might be able to have a greater experience according to the word. Why? Because we've walked away from knowledge. Now, once again, knowledge, it means intimacy. Right? Your Bible declares to you that the beginning of wisdom, right? And I know I'm saying the Apocrypha. It is what it is. It even says it in your Bible as well. But the beginning of wisdom is what? Is fear or reverence of Yahweh. If there's no relationship, proper relationship, then you are not wise. You are wise in your own eyes, you are wise in the devil's eyes, you are wise in the world's eyes, but you are not wise in Yahweh's eyes. And that's where it starts. That's where it should start. You hear what I'm saying? That's where it starts. You said your grandmother would say, learn to take telling. Yeah. Right? This is where it starts. Is that you become so wise in your own eyes that nobody can tell you anything. And you keep going through the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And then when somebody tells you that's the definition of insanity, you get mad when they say that you're going insane. But you're the one that tells us with your actions. And even sometimes you come out your word to say, I'm not feeling it. I'm tired of this. I'm feeling insane. Some people want to talk about they don't want to even be on the earth anymore. Right? But we keep doing the same stuff, expecting a different result. Why? When are things going to change if nobody can tell you anything? So before we go to Hosea 4:6 and talk about how we're being destroyed by lack of knowledge, let's see some things that are going on because we only read verse 6. Here we go, verse 1. So what are we talking about again today? Our theme is a class of punishment. The reason why anybody ends up in any class is because of the information that they have. A class of punishment. What is the reason that you get your computer or your phone? What are you looking for in your device? You might not even buy a phone that's got a whole bunch of memory in it because you might not need it. But you might need a phone that has a bunch of memory on it depending on what you're doing, right? But you're looking for information, data. That's what puts things in different classes. Correct? Right? So if I'm looking for a certain computer, I'm looking for a certain class of motherboard, right? I'm looking for a certain class of RAM, right? I'm looking for a certain class of memory, right? Can it handle this many megabytes? Do I need gigs? Do I need this? Do I need that? I'm looking for certain things to tell me about its class, the information that it gives me. See, how you doing, Brother Ali? Watch this. If somebody's in a poor class, it's usually because they have poor information. If you want to come out of a poor class, you got to stop having poor information. And then you have to start being intimate, knowledgeable, intimate with it. You have to start living out of poverty here, and in your environment before you get out of poverty in the physical environment. Matter of fact, if you have enough people in the community that get righteous information, right, that poor community, just about overnight, can become positive. See, without information, I can give you money. I can flood any city. This happens all the time, right? You must recognize poverty in the United States is not even considered to be poverty in the world for most places. Some of you who are living in homes right now to where you have holes in your ceiling, there's somebody out there that wishes they had a ceiling, right? I know this because I've been part of SOC, and part of SOC, we've literally in places like Pakistan have put roofs on buildings, right? We've been able to be blessed to help people to put a roof on a building where they were trying to worship, and they had to hope that it didn't rain too much, because even if it rained, they were faithful enough they'd be outside, because that's where the spirit led. That's where they had enough space, right? We had to help people to get nets, because even if they had building, now they had a roof, you still had a problem with mosquitoes and other things that were trying to get inside during worship, and they couldn't really focus on the worship, and so they had to get nets. See, we don't even realize that even the government floods money through you. They just control what you get, and they know that you'll be obedient unto them as long as you can get your money. How you doing, Big Pepper Stepper? How you doing, K1 Normal? Right? I'm just trying to tell you, they'll flow money into your community. They don't mind you having money. They just want you to make sure that you're gonna spend it in the same place. And so they give you food stamps. With food stamps, you would think, well, if it's food stamps, well, let me buy food. No, you can only get this type of food. And you go, well, that's cool because the government wants to make sure that you're getting healthy food. No, not really. Not necessarily. And by the way, you could use on food stamps. Why don't they tell you they're on your food stamps? You can go ahead and you can start a garden. Why don't you start a garden? Those of us who are actually on food stamps could be people that are growing gardens where they are. But if they say, well, I'm getting seed, but what's the point of having seed if I don't have a place to grow it? Well, why can't you make sure you have a community garden? Well, they wouldn't allow us to have a community garden. Why not? Well, we don't have any place outside. We all live in the hood. We all live. Some of y'all have places that the government provides that are outside places. But some of you are like, no, we in the hood. There's no way we can do it. Well, you're telling me that everybody couldn't take half a room, right? Everybody couldn't get rid of maybe a television and an end table, and you grow this in your corner of your room or your half a room, and you grow this and you grow that before you know, right? But we don't think about that as information. So you have the funds, you even have been given this up by the government, but the government says, here you go, but we know that you won't ever think about how can we grow seed. You said you got a bucket garden at your house? Come on, right? We got a bucket, we got some buckets too going. Hello, host. Okay, hello, my life, my peace. How you doing? Right? But without information, or without not only information, but then living as if the information is there, right? You can have faith in something, but faith without works has no life. So without making sure that you have a certain amount of information, and then making sure you live as if that information is true, especially once you study to see if it works, what's the point of the information? See, those who don't have information and then those who do not live by the information, that is the class that you are in. I promise you. If you want to know who's in middle class, I promise you they've got middle information. There are outliers, of course, because we have children born into things, but even still with them, they're going to grow and have access to things. I promise you, somebody who's rich probably has rich information. Right? Martha Stewart got arrested. Why? Because the government didn't like the fact that she used information. But that's how she was able to get out before she lost her money, was what? Because somebody said, hey, I'm going to give you information. And they said, that's not fair because we want to control your information. She said, no, you're not going to control my information. I have information. I'm going to move on it. They arrested her. True now. But that's why she got arrested, was because she used information. How you doing, Mrs. Monica? Right, there you go. You can buy fruit trees with food stamps at Walmart. Right? This is information. Somebody says, well, once again, I got an apartment. Yeah, okay, fine. Buy a fruit tree, get a bigger thing, let it grow in your house. Make sure that you have some soap and water to spray it so that you don't have certain bugs and stuff growing on it. And now you got fruit in your house. Make sure that it's next to light. That's right. But this is information. The information that you have will determine the class that you live in. Matter of fact, this is why you guys want, those of you who still have your children in the system and send them to school, and some of us have to. I'm not getting on you, right? How you doing, Sister Chambers? Praise God for you. Some of you have to. I'm not trying to get on you and say that you're bad or anything like that, right? But because you want your child to have better information, what do? You say, I want to put them in a better class. But you don't recognize you're actually, even though you're doing a right thing by trying to do that. You're not recognizing it's not really the class. What you're asking for is the information. If I put my child in a better place of information, they have to be in a better class. They're giving you these words and we don't recognize the etymology, right? So I need my child to go to a better school. I need them to go to a better college. Why do you want them to go to a better college? Because the better college has better information. If they get better information, they're supposedly going to be in what? A better class. Right? Yah says, I need my preachers to preach the word and preach the perfect word and stop manipulating it. Why? Because if these preachers preach a poor word, then you preach a poor class. No one, but and I can tell that the word that we preach is poor because every time I go to churches, I see liquor stores. Every time I go to churches, I see prostitution at night. Every time I go to churches, I see poor people who don't get anything, like the person in the Bible to where they were going through, and Lazarus was going through, and you had the poor man. Right? And you had Lazarus, not the same Lazarus that was raised from the dead, but Lazarus who would pass by him every day at the temple, at the gate called Beautiful. Here you are at the gate called Beautiful, right at the temple, and nobody will help this man that he might be able to enter in. Why? Because they weren't concerned about him getting information, and the only information they gave him was stuff that would just go ahead and say, get out of my face, right? They weren't worried about making sure he had proper information. The more information you give somebody, the higher the class. You keep thinking if I put my child in a higher class, they'll get better information, but it's the reverse. If I give my child higher information, then they'll be in a higher class. This is why the same people that will tell you, don't teach your babies about black history, so to speak, right? That's what we call them. So don't teach your children about black history. Don't teach them about black American history. Don't teach them about African American history, whatever you want to call it. These same people these same persons will ensure, though, that their children know their mother and their mother's mother and their father and their father's father, and they'll know the history of this, and they'll make sure that while they're telling you, hey, you focusing too much on old stuff, right? They'll tell you, you focusing on old stuff too much. You focusing on old stuff. Why are you always focusing on bringing up old stuff, right? Why are you bringing up slavery? Slavery happened so many years ago, as if chattel slavery doesn't exist in prisons and other places today. That being said, listen, you keep bringing up old stuff, but you better make sure 1776, July 4th, you better know about it, right? You better make sure. Don't teach your child, don't teach him about Juneteenth. Don't teach him that Memorial Day actually was something that is quote unquote, quote, black history, unquote. Don't teach him that part of the story. Don't teach him that it was, quote, black people, unquote, that went down and fought and had the people that were Confederates leave from Texas with their slaves, some of them, and run down to Brazil, which is why you got a Confederate flag down there, and it was you that freed yourself. Don't tell them about the Seminole Wars, because that means you freed yourself. Don't tell them about the Gullah Geechee Wars, because that means you freed yourself. And don't tell them that all those things were intertwined and were taking place. And when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1862, the war kept on going until 1865, which means it didn't stop the war, and it didn't say that the slaves were free because it wasn't law, because a proclamation is not a law. Right? The proclamation that they signed. When we proclaim, when we preach something, we must preach the law. But they didn't preach law. They didn't change the law and say that all slaves are free. They proclaimed something that wasn't even put on the books. But if you say that, if you give this information, right, people get upset. Why? Because it makes people begin to say, well, wait a minute, if I fought to free myself, then it means that I'm in a different class. I didn't have to be freed by my oppressor and keep asking my oppressor to give me something. But wait a minute, my oppressor is not even who I am, because my oppressor calls himself American, but by law, you have to be a copper-colored person indigenous to the Americas in order to become an American. And therefore, if I'm the American and they're the oppressor, the colonizer, trying to identify as the colonized, then that doesn't even make sense lawfully. Right? You change the class that you're in when you give more information, or when you get proper information. Problem is, what if they're giving information but it's lies? Then you're still in a poor class. This is why you think you are poor, what you were told. The class that the information they gave you was to make you think that you were in a lower class. You think you were poor, but now it's time to give you more information. But really, thou art rich. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? And Sister Sherlyn. Said Harriet Tubman said, I would have freed more of my people if they would have just known they were slaves. Come on. Right? The class that I'm in. So today we're talking about a class of punishment. Our people are going through punishment because of the information they've been given, or because of the information that has not been given, the ignorance. We do not have knowledge or intimacy. Recall in the Bible, when two people get married, in our culture, sex is marriage, marriage is sex. When two people have sex, when two people become one, when the hymen is broken and the seed is given and the blood is intermingled, right? And fruit is starting to grow inside the womb. When two people become one, it's referred to as knowing. Knowing. K-N-O-W. But knowing. To know. I know this person. That means that what? That means that we have become one. So Yah says it is the lack of knowledge, it is the lack of information, it is the lack of bonding with me, it is the lack of coming together with me that has caused you to be in a class of punishment. The punishment has only showed up. The bad things, you being destroyed, is because of the lack of intimacy, the lack of knowledge. So back to Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Praise God. First thing that it says is, hear the word, hear the savah, hear the seed, hear the kepher, hear the savah, hear the scroll, hear the zara, hear the seed, hear the word. How you doing, Tanisha? Hear the word. First things first. So what am I supposed to be intimate with? Hear the word. Who is this word for once again? Ye children of Yahashara'al. You got to be in Yahashara'al. You can't be Balaam doctrine. It can't be up. You know what? I get paid by the world, so I find a way to make sure that Yah is pleased and at the same time the world is pleased. How you doing, Stephanie? Right? Hear ye the word of who? Of Yahweh, of the Lord. For Yahweh hath a controversy. He has a what? He has a controversy. He has a what? He has a controversy. What is a controversy? We're going to do something real quick. I'm not even going to look up the Hebrew. Let's look this up in the English definition. Because you might not know what this is. Now, it controverse. Right? Now watch this. Let's break this word down even in English. In English, this word, see, we're just going controversy, but there's a controverse. Right? Now, verse means what? We know what verse is because of universe. Universe means what? Uni, uno, una. Uni means what? One. And then verse means a sentence or a spoken sentence. So the universe is a single spoken sentence. That's why you have to know universal law. You have to know the law to understand universal law. You have to know the lawgiver, therefore, to comprehend the laws of the universe and get into natural law, substantive law, familial law, marital law, etc., right? But we have to comprehend who created the universe and know him in order to comprehend how universal law works. Universal law doesn't mean that, hey, if it works here, it works there, if it works here, it works there. The only reason why it works universally is because it comes from the mind of the creator who spoke the universe into existence, right? The universe, once again, being a single spoken sentence. So if we break this word down, we see that the verse part of when we're talking about controversy or controverse, or we have to deal with verse at the end. Verse is a sentence, or it is a spoken sentence, but verse is a sentence. Okay? I know some people say, no, verse and hip hop, isn't that okay? Fine. Even if you want to say a verse is like a stanza of a song, but a stanza is a stanza, a verse is a verse. You know, well, you know, if hip hop heads are go argue and all that stuff, okay, fine. And people who are into music and stuff who think that, I promise you, somebody who studied music and played music for a lot of his life, right? a lot, just about the same amount of time I've been preaching is about the same amount of time I've been playing music, right? But I promise you, a verse is a verse, a stanza is a stanza. But nevertheless, okay. So if we have a verse is, just for now, let's just say a verse is a sentence. Watch this though. If you traverse, a lot of people don't know what this is. If you traverse, to traverse is actually to go or to travel across or over something, to move or pass along or to pass through something. So to traverse means to go through something. Here's the thing though. Traverse is a compound word. Praise Yah. We're gonna get some nice etymology training today. Traverse is a compound word. It is a verse, which means a what? A sentence or a spoken sentence. And it is what also? It is tra. What is the tra? T-R-A short for? Travel. So to traverse is a travel verse. It is a word that causes you to travel. So if I traverse, what I speak causes me to travel. All right? See, now watch this. A controverse, con means what? It means to be one with. So we have a negative con, right? A con man doesn't mean always that they're negative. A con woman doesn't mean they're always negative. It means they can get you to go be one with anything. So we have a controversy. Right? We have a controversy. How you doing, Sonic Love? That means that we have become one, conned, with something that's causing us to travel by use of word, verse, or a sentence. Right? Con, one. We have been conned. We become one. To travel, verse, with another word. A controversy. Did you catch that? That's what the word means. So controverse. Contravel-verse. I have been conned, I've been duped into becoming one with something that causes me to travel with another word rather than the word of Yah. This is why the beginning says what? Hear ye the word of Yahweh. The word that he's given to Yahashua. You have been conned. You have been duped. You have been led astray. You've been run amok, right? All this stuff. You have been bamboozled into believing that you are supposed, and how you doing, Donna? That you are supposed to do what? Become one with another word and travel with that word rather than be one with the word of Yah. Hello, Bruce, if that's your way of saying hello. How you doing? Right? But you have been duped into doing something different than what Yah has said. Controverse. You've been conned. Okay. So controverse. You've been conned into it. Right? There's a controversy. Right? What is the controversy? Right? He says there's a controversy, or where is it rather? Hosea chapter 4, verse 1 says, Yahweh hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. Who are the inhabitants of the land? The same people who he's talking to, Israel, Yahashua. Why does he have a controversy? What is wrong? What is the opposite? What word have you gone with? What has this word that we've gone with done that has caused us to be ignorant and therefore be in a class of punishment? What it causes is what? There is no amat. There is no truth. No mercy. Nor mercy, excuse me. Nor intimacy, nor knowledge of Elohim in the land. When there is no truth and there is no mercy, and then there is no intimacy with Yah, right, in the land, wherever you stay, right, wherever you stay, when you're missing truth, when you're missing mercy, when you're missing intimacy with who Yah is, your land is doomed. What did I just say? When you're missing what? Truth. When you're missing mercy. And when you have no intimacy with Yah, your land is doomed. Right? Anybody who lives on that land, because the land needs the fruit. Right? The fish live off the land. It says you won't have any fish in Hosea chapter 4. The birds live off the land. It says the fowls will go away. The seed grows in the land. It says you won't have any fruit, any trees. We only read, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, but it's saying that before you even get to verse 6, we can see very clearly that Yah says that he has to send punishment, and it's to get the attention, it's to get you to realize that without him, you can do nothing. If you're going to be on this land, on this kingdom land, in this kingdom, if this kingdom's going to be in you, there has to be laws that you follow. There has to be things that you're required to do. And if you get away from it, he shall curse your land. But the curses come and overtake thee. right? So and once again, this is a punishment to Yah's children, as we said earlier. If I was told by my father, be home before the street light comes up, and I didn't get back home before the street light came up, my father didn't look for everybody else's child. He was looking for me, right? Because his child wasn't there. And so even though he's looking for me and hoping that I'm safe, at the same time as he's looking for me, he knows that once he finds me, there might be a punishment. Shalom, how you doing, Minister Shante? He knows that there might be a punishment. He's not looking for everybody else's child. He's looking for me. And he's coming with a punishment. Why would he punish somebody else's child? Why would he punish the devil's child? The devil's child is going to end up in hell because hell is a place that's outside of Yah's will, right? That's why they're dealing with hell. You're dealing with chastisement, with the whooping, because you're his child. We got to make a distinction here, because people say, well, why does the Most High allow suffering? Why are you the devil's child? Why are you eating food the way the devil said eat it? You're his seed. Talking about why is Yah. You got to take that up with your father. Your father is the devil. And you trying to talk about my father. My father said do things in his will. And if you are in his will, and if you are his child, well then guess what? If you get outside of his will, he's looking for you. Remember that word punishment that we looked at? That word punishment also talks about he's looking for those who are part of his family to administer this punishment. That's right. It's two separate dynamics for two separate people, for two separate sets of children. And a lot of us make the mistake of once again believing that the Bible's written to everybody, and everybody therefore is Yah's child. And everybody cannot be Yah's child, because Genesis chapter 3, by the Shat Gamon tells you specifically that there's enmity between the seed of the devil, the children of the devil, and the seed of the Most High. So just because everybody is a creation does not mean everybody is his son. Everybody is his daughter. Right? But we're playing this weird game and trying to say, yeah, we blame you because we're with the devil. If you're with the devil, you got to talk to your daddy. And you got to ask your daddy, why does he keep letting you be out there? And why doesn't he love you enough to whip you and bring you back in? I mean, you keep giving to your daddy. If you give to your daddy, then take it up with your daddy when he doesn't pay your bills. But and where I come from, I once was young, and now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor a seed begging bread. If you're begging bread, you got to ask yourself, why are you begging bread when your daddy has bread? Or if you're begging bread, is he really your daddy? I didn't say that you can't be poor. I said, why are you begging bread and not eating? Why are you not just going to your people in your community and requesting and seeing if we can help you, or seeing if prayer really works and then going there? Why are you automatically running to the beast, to the government, and saying, give me everything you can? Because I'll tell you why. It's because that's what you were taught. We are ignorant. We were told to break away from what Yah wants for us. And therefore, since we've been told to break away from him and break away from him and break away from his order and instruction, we have no intimacy, no knowledge. And therefore, we are destroyed. For this lack of intimacy, for this lack of knowledge. And therefore, we are destroyed. And hello, and none of the moderators have already got this person, but just in case you're still listening, you've been muted. Just to let you know, Lucifer is not even a person. Lucifer's a title, right? The devil has no name. He has no authority, but you keep trying to give it to him. You got to be careful, right? He should be the Lucifer, the devil, the Satan, because he has no name. Right, if you know culture, but people don't know culture. But thank you, moderators. Appreciate you. I see you. So, as always, moderators doing excellent work. So, you have to get into this place of recognizing and realizing what's going on. That you have been lied to. You've been given bad stuff. And watch this. Your children have been given it. See, when we read this in Hosea, we still haven't even gone through everything verse by verse yet, right? We're still in verse 1. But as you read through this, one thing that they don't teach you is that, hey, it says in Hosea 4:6 that it's not because you have no ability to have knowledge or intimacy with the Most High, but in verse or with the Most High, excuse me, how you doing, Bernal? But it says that you have rejected. You have rejected. Eject is one thing, like to eject, right? To inject is something going in. To eject, something being tossed out. But the eject, right? But you have rejected. That means over and over again, you have tossed this thing out. Over and over again, you have rejected intimacy with him, right? And therefore, since you have rejected him over and over again, what happens? He must reject your child. Give, and it shall be given unto thee. But read the verse before it, Luke chapter 6, verse 37 and 38. Luke 6:38 is where you stop, but Luke 6, or is the only thing you read. But read Luke 6:37 before it. Luke 6:37 says, judge the way you want to be judged, and condemn the way you want to be condemned, and forgive in the manner you want to be forgiven. Give, and it shall be given unto thee. Right? Verse 37, judge the way you want to be judged, condemn the way you want to be condemned, forgive the way you want to be forgiven. Give, and it shall be given unto thee. However you reject it, it shall be rejected. However you reject it, you have to be re-rejected. But whatever you give, it shall be given. Well, so Hosea chapter 4, how you doing, Minister Samantha? Right? Hosea chapter 4, verse 6 is very clear. And making and letting us know what? That we are destroyed because we have no intimacy. And we have rejected the one we should have intimacy or relationship with. And because of that, he has to reject the seed. Because watch this. If you had a chance to be intimate with your husband and you never were intimate with him and somehow you got impregnated with children, then that means those children don't belong to him. There's no escape. Oh, that's a word. How you doing, Omika? That's a word for somebody right there. I'm going to say it one more again. You might have missed that. Right? Knowledge means intimacy. In the Bible, to know somebody means to lay down with them. That's why even in certain places, even in the United States Corporation, the United States of America, when you go certain places in America even, and you say, I know somebody, they'll say, oh, you know that? What do they say? Because you don't just walk around certain places down south and say you know somebody. Because if you know somebody, you saying you know them. We recognize how language works. See, so if I don't know Yah, and I haven't been intimate with my husband, right? I haven't laid down with him in the bedroom, but I keep talking about I've got these children. He must then say, well, those can't be mine because you've always rejected me when I'm trying to be intimate with you. So those can't be my babies. Therefore, since you've rejected me, I must reject those children because they are not mine. You see, we got to look at this properly, culturally, consistently. Because you have rejected me, that can't be my child. Yeah, I need you to bless this thing. I've been impregnated with this business idea. I wanted to come out. He says, oh, I've been trying to lay down with you for a minute. But since you won't, we haven't been intimate, so that can't be my business plan for you. I have to reject it. How else could it be otherwise? Right. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Right? Sisters, this makes even less sense. Sisters, if somehow, some way a baby showed up at your doorstep and it didn't come out of you, you couldn't even accept, that doesn't even make sense for it to be your baby. What would it make sense if somebody would try to talk you into raising a baby, right? And saying, no, this baby is yours. And you're like, no, I have all my cognitive faculties moving. I didn't have a child. Right? Right, we ain't even going for no coffee or nothing, right? It doesn't make sense. But here we are, a people, a nation that has decided to not be intimate with our husband and keep talking about bless our children. And if you keep on going, then you'll discover that it starts talking about now he's got a problem because your children have become the next generation of priests. What are we talking about today? A class of punishment. Your children are continuing to do the same things that got you punished in the first place because we won't acknowledge it. Once again, if you don't give your child the information, every class that somebody's in is due to the information they do or do not have. If your child does not have information, I promise you, no matter how great that child wants to be, if your child does not have information, they will never be able to get past a certain point. And they will just continue to do the same thing. A child that was raised around that had the information of killers will probably be a killer. Right? How you doing, Warren? A child that has the information of cheaters will probably be a cheater. A child that has the information of fatherless will probably be fatherless. And even if they have children, will constantly and consistently be confused and frustrated and upset about a lot of things because they don't know what they're doing. Doesn't mean that they can't overcome, but they have to have a father at some point. Not just a spiritual father, not just a pastor. They got to have a father or fathers to be able to explain something. Right? Some of you who should have moved. Right? How you doing, Queen? Thanks, Queen Luna. Thanks for being part of the community. How you doing, Sister Tia? Right? Some of you who should have moved on certain things a long time ago, you were raised around people that never moved when y'all said move. Right? And since some of you never were raised in that, to move when y'all says move. So since some of you were never raised to move when y'all says move, guess what happened to you? You don't move. Procrastinators raise procrastinators. I'm not trying to talk bad about you, see, because you can go, so no, everything my mom and my daddy ever did, it was, think about it. Why don't we know how marriage works? Because nobody preached marriage. Why? Because the people who preach marriage never saw marriage. Why do we preach dating when the Bible doesn't have it in there? Because we were raised by people who dated. How you doing, Minister Elisha? And if that's your way of saying hello, Humphrey, how you doing? And how you doing for us? Right? Like you're going to imitate. Watch this. Why do you have high blood pressure? Look at your family. How'd you eat? How is it that everybody has heart attacks by age 50? Look at your family. Oh no, it's hereditary. No, it's not. It's hereditary as far as your father did it, and your father's father did it, and your mother did it, and your mother's mother did it. But you don't have to have the same issues that they had. Right? You were introduced to McDonald's when you were a child. Why you introduce your child to McDonald's? You don't have to. It's free will. But the lack of information. Remember, every class that you were in, and now you're dealing with punishment. Your body's punished. You have a hard time walking. You have a hard time with your extremities. Your fingers and your toes are numb all the time. You say it's this, it's because of this, it's because of this. No, like there was a number done on you because of your actions. How you doing, Taqwa? There's a number that was done on you because of your actions. I can't believe my children are out here cussing. Did you cuss? Did you raise them? Did you make sure that besides telling them the Bible said this and that or whatever, did you make sure you sent them to school and they were raised by the school more hours a day than you were? Like there's a certain curse. There's certain things that are just going on and on over and over and over again, and we don't want to have that conversation. How you doing, Miss Brightside? There's a reality that we're missing something here. Once again, you have no knowledge, and now the priests, the rulers, the governors, the presidents, the CEOs, the business owners, etc. They are the teachers. They're raised in the same system. Right? They're raising Cains because they were raised by Cain. Right? Are we raised by Seth or are we raised by Cain? Are we raised by Esau or are we raised by Israel? Are we raised by Elohim or are we the seed of the serpent that we're told about for right in the beginning, the Badashat Gamal in Genesis chapter 3? The Bible tells you straight up, if you don't, look, the Bible tells you specifically, straight up, if you don't even obey the holy days, you shall be cut off. People say, I don't need those. Why? Well, the Bible never says anything about the holy days in the New Testament, Pentecost. Yeah, that was the day of Pentecost. Yeah, because every year there was a day of Pentecost. June 16th this year, Harvest Day. We take our sacrifices and our offerings and everything and we wave them before dawn. How does the better knowledge come to us? The better knowledge comes to us through being intimate with Yah. The only way, right? It's not everybody's knowledge, right? It's not my people perish or my people are destroyed because they lack knowledge or intimacy with the world. He said that's the problem, is that you stop being intimate with me, and now you got children that are the children of the world. And because you have rejected me, I have to reject them because they're not my children. I didn't raise them. I don't know what that has to do with anything we're talking about today, but how you doing, Mama? Right? I didn't raise those babies. I didn't raise those babies to do those things. You guys did. I didn't have it set up to where those babies would be like that. You did. Right? I wanted them to be taught well. I wanted them to be taught correctly. I wanted them to be given what I told them they should be given. I'm on this bright side. I gave, but you rejected. Once again, intimacy. Knowledge means intimate. If somebody in the Bible knows somebody, it means they laid down, they became married. So since you have no knowledge of me and rejected the knowledge, rejected our laying down, that means your child can't be my child. And now your children have raised other children that are not mine. And they keep getting further and further and further away, to the point to where now you have to say none of you are my children if you're not careful. And he starts focusing in on the preachers. And people don't want to hear about that, but that's the biggest problem is us. We the preachers are all over the place and will not preach the unadulterated word of Yah no matter what. And since we will not do so, we have a whole generations that are no longer chosen, because chosen means that you have to fall in line. Just because somebody calls you doesn't mean you're chosen. We have this word stuff messed up. Called means invited. I invite you over. And if you come over, then we can start having a conversation about will you do what you're called to do? And if you will do what you're invited to do, now we can talk about, okay, I choose you. I chose you before the foundation of the world because I called you, thus saith the Lord, before I called you before the foundation of the world. But if you don't want to accept the call and you keep leaving the text on unread, then what am I supposed to do with that? And now we're in a class of punishment. Once again, whatever class you're in, look for the information that's been given. There's a rich class, there's a wealthy class, there's a middle class, there's a poor class, there's a third class, there's a third world class. There's first class, second class, third class, fourth class. There's A class, B class, C class, D class. Look for the information. Even when you talk about your food is grade A class. Guess what that means? Information, as far as what information it wasn't given or what information does it have. You don't even recognize when you eat information. So what information does the chicken have that you're eating? Are they just putting a bunch of saline in it to make it look like it's juice? What you call juice. Or grease, right? Are they putting a bunch of salt on it? That's not necessary. Salt on it and in it, sodium. That hurts you? Was the chicken actually eating things that chickens are supposed to eat? Did they allow the chickens to actually look for grubs and things out of the ground and things like that to get certain proteins and nutrients and stuff so that it would actually be a healthy chicken? All these things are looked at to see what kind of class does it go into. The information that you're getting out of the chicken is what the class of it is. See, whatever you eat, if you eat information from a chicken that's F class, then guess what? Then you're going to eat F class, and your body gets F information and it starts to fail because you are what you eat. Even what comes in here is information. What comes in here is information. What comes in here is information. To eating chicken and dumpling for breakfast. I'm just saying, you can eat it. Just make sure. I'm just trying to tell you what grade it is, right? Get a job, don't need one. Hopefully you do well enough to where you don't need one too, and you can start using your business and do whatever you're called to do so that you don't have to be on somebody else's payroll, right? But if that's your way of saying hello once again, grand rising to you, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well, right? But that's because, once again, somebody lacks information. The information that you have in life says you have to work at 9 to 5. That's the only way. Just like the information many have. Now, look, I'll be honest. I'm making sure my credit is better. But see, the home that I had, I didn't worry about credit checks and all this stuff. You know why? Because if you got enough cash, then guess what? Just buy the home. Even if it's a home that needs to be put together, buy the home, live in it, and put it together. Get the information together where you can build up your own family in your own home without having to go through certain hurdles. Build up businesses in your diaspora where you can take care of each other and you don't have to worry about some person who doesn't even care about you trying to tell you how much you can and can't do. We were talking about this yesterday. Some of you have insurance, health insurance, they can't even go to the doctor because the place that supposedly blessed you to get the health insurance won't bless you with enough time to make sure that you can see your doctor. Now you got to fight with HR to see if you can win a day or so here, or win or use your days that really you shouldn't even use as sick days. Somebody should just let you take a couple hours and go to a doctor's appointment, but you have people that won't even work with you, or you're hoping that people will work with you. Why would you put your life in the hand of your oppressor like that? Because we've been colonized, right? I'm not even talking about white, black, I'm talking about spiritual, right? Mentally, psychologically, you've been colonized to a place to where you think that Stockholm Syndrome is where it's at. And when somebody breaks free of Stockholm Syndrome, you get upset. Why? Because your father is the father of Stockholm Syndrome. My father is not. Your father kidnapped us by saying, eat of the fruit. Right? What your father says isn't right. And we left our father alone and ate of the fruit and got into all this stuff. You know, I even hear people say stuff like, why would you want, this is something I heard recently. Somebody was like, why would you serve Elohim? Why would you serve any God, whatever, that says, right, for us it's Elohim. Why would you serve a God that says that you have to, and forgive me for saying it like that, why would you serve an Elohim who, or a higher power of any kind, that would tell you not to eat of knowledge? But there was the tree of life. The tree of life is knowledge. The tree of life, there's information that gives life. There's information that just lets you know what's good according to your eyes and evil. If it's nice according to your eyes and evil, that doesn't mean that it gives life or eternal life. Both were trees of information. Anything I eat gives information. Right? If I fast, guess what happens? My body has a chance to actually digest all the information that's inside of it. That's what you're fasting for. See, when you eat constantly, some of you eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 6, 7 times every day. Right? I'm talking about your snacks. Some of you eating full meals 5 times a day too, which is crazy. Even if you're working out all day, you don't have to. But nevertheless, right? Some of you eating 4 or 5 meals a day, and you can't digest it, trying to figure out why your body won't go to what it's supposed to, but because it's too much information, you can't digest the information. Even when you go to class, right? Don't you say sometimes, oh, I can't digest the information. Your body's trying to digest information, and when you go to sleep, your body's trying again to digest information. Some of you will eat right before you go to sleep and then try to figure out why you're sick during your sleep. Your body's supposed to digest the food hours before you go to sleep, and then that food actually gets broken down by other things that digest throughout the night, but don't digest huge quantities. And then you wake up, and then your body gets rid of it. Your body has gotten rid of it before you went to sleep, gets rid of more when you get up, and then you wait until it's time for you to break your fast. You don't break your fast at a time. You break your fast when your body needs more information. Right? That's how that works. And thank you, moderators. I appreciate y'all on all the platforms. I see y'all. Right? You give your body a chance to break down information. This is why a lot of people get sick. Is because you overeat. You're eating not according to what you need. You're eating according to what? You're eating according to, hey, somebody said it's time. You're eating in ignorance. Why would I eat just because it's time to eat? What does that mean? I set aside time to eat. Look at how your job is set up. Why would you eat just because it's 6 o'clock? What sense does that make? It's 6 o'clock. I'm supposed to eat at 6. Why? See, test every spirit by the Spirit. It's interesting. People to test me all day, every day. Well, test the spirit by the Spirit. Why? Why do you have to eat at 6? Why do you have to eat at 12? Why do you have to eat at 8? Why? Have you ever asked why? People will try the spirit on stuff that they don't need to try the spirit on, but stuff that's literally destroying your body. Why? Why is it that you take medicines that are modified herbs, which means that they have side effects? Because basically, long story short, if I could give you a simple way of looking at it, if somebody modifies a medicine, they are focusing on one particular thing instead of giving you a holy or holistic version of what's been given or what was created. So therefore, if you take a modified medicine, or which is just a modified herb, instead of just taking the actual herb, then you have side effects. There's a hole in it because you're not getting wholly everything's supposed to be in there. So there's like a hole in its side. So you're going to deal with a side effect that comes with it because it's not natural, it's not whole. But if you eat the whole thing, there's no side effect. Right? And somebody will tell you and I that when we should go ahead and go to the doctor so he can keep giving us things that cause us to have what? Side effects. But you should have something that's whole. So somebody says go to a herbalist, and you think that that's wrong. You'll use all this money, you'll do all this stuff. I gotta make sure I have all this insurance and everything like that. And I'm not saying you should have zero health insurance. I'm saying you'll pay all this money doing all this stuff. And the reality is that you should barely ever see a doctor a day in your life. At least the kind of doctors you are seeing. And if somebody's a real healer, right? This is just for educational purposes only. I am not a herbalist, by the way. I'm not a doctor, by the way. Right? I don't play one on TV. I don't play one on social media. However, I'm telling you truths. Why would you keep going to somebody who would keep giving you something that's modified, guaranteed side effects, rather than just make sure that you go to a place to where you are healed and you are whole and you are healthy, and all you're really doing with somebody is every once in a while checking in and saying, hey, are my herbs right? Is this right? Is that right? Okay, cool. Right? It's because we think food is food and not medicine. Yeah. And food is medicine. Medicine is not separate from food. Amen, Brother Vincent. It's just not. It is just not. It's not food. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not separate from food. If you're ever you should be medicated every day. Because every day when I eat something, I should be thinking, what is this doing for my body every single day? Not just every once in a while. Not just when I feel sick. Not just when I feel off. Every day. See, that's why it's preventative medicine or preventative food. I should be thinking to myself, I know as a man, I need to make sure that certain levels are up in certain things. So I'm going to eat certain things on a regular basis. Right? If you're having issues with diabetes, eat food for your pancreas. Basically, eat fruit, and you'll see a change. Right? Those of you who have issues with insulin levels. Right? Those who have issues with insulin levels and stuff like that, guess what you need to do? If you have issues with insulin levels, eat some fruit. It's your pancreas. It's that simple. If you have issues with insulin levels, eat fruit. Get your pancreas together. You'd be surprised. If you have issues with insulin levels, seriously, your pancreas. If you have diabetes, right? Especially if you have diabetes, guess what diabetes basically means? Diabetes means that you urinate too much. In Latin, that's what it basically means. I know y'all want to go straight to the Latin, and that means that if we go to the Latin, it must be scientific. All you're saying is that you urinate too much. If you get up and go to the bathroom, it's diabetic. That's what we're dealing with, is that you're urinating too much. You're urinating too much because you have your sugar levels are jacked up. If you're going to the restroom, watch this, brothers. I don't know if sisters have a version of this or not. I've never really talked to sisters about this to see. But brothers, if you go into the bathroom and you using the bathroom, you're doing the thing, and then you got to and you're shaking, and then there's nothing coming out, and you hope there's nothing coming out, and you're hoping, and you're hoping, and you're hoping, and you're hoping, until you go finally, and then you put your phallus back in your pants, you put your penis back in your pants, and then you start to walk, and as soon as you start urinating. You get dribble coming down. You know what that is? That's your pancreas. Get some fruit in your life. Some seeded fruit or fruit in your life, right? And and get your pancreas back in order. And I promise you, all of a sudden, right? Be faithful with it, And it's going to hurt some of you when you do this, male or female, when you do this, because you're going to be shutting stuff down and you're going to be denying your body certain things. But when you start getting to that fruit over and over and over again, as soon as you start dealing with that, what's going to happen? All of a sudden, after a while, you're going to find out, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. Now, also, too, if you can, try to break away or at least lower the amount of sodas and other things you're probably eating as well that have taken you there, including things like bread, especially specific types of bread, right? Be careful with that, or even rice. Like, not just rice, but enriched rice. Some of you get rice and it says enriched, and you don't realize that enriched rice is something that you don't want. When you go and you get your rice, you go and get your jasmine rice, for example, when you look on that bag, turn it over, and you want your only ingredient to be rice or jasmine rice. When you turn the bag over and you see 50 things on there, 10 things on there besides rice, that's not rice anymore. When you turn the bag over, make sure it says rice. As soon as it says rice, you say, okay, that's what I'm looking for. I came to buy rice. We don't even think about that. Why? Because of lack of knowledge. And it puts us in a class of what? A class of punishment. Where now Yah, who created you to be a certain way, he got to come looking for you and has to chastise you and has to allow some things to happen that you might focus back on him. Rice is just supposed to be rice. So if I'm eating something that's not rice, I got a problem. This is why it's hard for me, because I know a lot of places, like at Chipotle and stuff, and I eat at these places, but I have to eat carefully. When I go to Chipotle, I don't have rice because I don't know if it's rice. I don't know if it's actual rice. Because Chipotle is trying to save money. When they're trying to save money, they're rewarded for getting things and buying things that are not actual rice. So I just don't have rice. I tell them, give me the pinto beans and the black beans. Right? Put them at the bottom. That'll be my base. Give me the fajita veggies. A lot of times I don't even get what they call protein, is that protein only comes from meat, but I don't get the meat, and I get certain things from the other side. You can get protein through the guac or the guacamole, but we say guac nowadays, right? So what I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff put in it. Just like I was saying, if you go to the store and when you go, like if you want to do just a little easy thing to do, a little homework assignment, you ready? When you go to the store, next time you do, if you want to go today, this rising, whenever, next time you go to the store, go to an aisle, right? You're going to get rice, go and turn the bag of rice over, see what the ingredients are, and you'll see the difference between certain rices. Certain rices have all these different ingredients. Some rices just say rice. If it just says rice, that's what I came looking for, right? If you go to a store and you got a can of tomatoes, look at all the stuff that comes in the tomatoes. There's going to be a lot of other stuff besides just tomato. Right? But if you want a tomato, just go ahead and get a tomato. Well, in the can of tomatoes, you could be dealing with plastic and stuff like that. And yes, the rice even comes in plastic, by the way, which is why some of your grains even come in paper bags, right? Some of your milk, right, doesn't come in plastic, but it comes in boxes, right? There's different ways to be able to do these things. You could even say in the boxes you have paper, and the paper, the boxes of paper, and the paper can have stuff from trees or different things. Yeah, I get it, right? But what I'm just trying to say is that we lack information. We lack knowledge. That is what's destroying us. What puts you in the class of destruction, what puts you in the class of punishment, is that you have done what? You have been put in a position to do what? To have no information. And to not only have the information, recall this now, our responsibility is not just to have the information, because this is what a lot of church folks get caught up on, and a lot of camp folk now are getting caught up on. It's not great enough to just have information, you must live it. It's not great enough to have something in faith, you must work it. I don't care what nobody says. Everybody wants to always skip over faith without works. Whenever all these people you talking about, it's not by works, it's not by works, it's not by deeds. Faith without works has no life. It is DOA. It is frustrating to the Most High. It is the opposite of eternal life. To have faith in Yah, and faith in what he built, and faith in what his word says, and faith in his dietary laws, but you never work it. Who cares if you know you're not supposed to have pork, if you have pork every day? If you have faith in Yah's word that you shouldn't have pork, but you have pork every day, who cares? If you have faith that you're supposed to make sure that you're obedient to Yahushua says follow the law, but if you never follow the law, then what does your faith in Yahushua mean? How are you covered by the blood, but you don't follow the law of the one who shed the blood? How do you follow Paul when Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ? How do you follow Paul and Paul says, well, I'm following Christ who followed the law, and you're sitting up there saying, no, I follow Paul because Paul says we shouldn't follow the law. Paul keeps talking about law. You see, having faith in something doesn't mean that you work it. This is why you can be, once again, just to have information doesn't mean you are knowledgeable. Being knowledgeable means you are intimate with the information that's given. Right? Once again, why is he rejecting your children? Why is it because you have rejected knowledge? Not just because knowledge wasn't presentable. No, you got knowledge. Knowledge is presented to you. You have rejected knowledge, and since you rejected knowledge, he will reject your child even to the third and fourth generation. And if you're not careful, even after that, he will start to reject them because now they keep rejecting them. Why is that? Because if you don't know Yah, if you and Yah are supposed to be married, and you don't know him, you don't lay down with him, you never had an actual marriage with him, you never connected, you never laid down, and every time he keeps saying, hey baby, come on, let's go ahead and lay down tonight. No, I got this church service I got to be at. Come on, baby, let's lay down tonight. No, I got to preach the word, and they don't really want me to preach your word, so I find a way to make sure that they're okay with it, and I won't really say certain things that will bother them. Come on, baby, I really want to lay down to you. I created you. You're fine. I want you to come back and be one with me like Adam was one with his wife. Come on, let's get this together. I want you to be my helpmeet. No, I would, but they don't like me saying your name. I can't really say your name. I can't really tell them who you are. Come on, babe. I mean, you're amazing. You're beautiful. You're awesome. Do you know you're the apple of my eye? He says this in his word, by the way. Do you not know that you're the apple of my eye, baby? I'm looking at you. You're awesome. I'm so ready for you. I shaped and formed and molded you. Oh man, I can't wait to be able to go ahead and become one with you. And you say, I would, but for real, for my friends, they're not really with all that. So I can't really be all the way out there because I don't want them to think. Baby, I don't even look at anybody else except you. I'm chasing after you. I'm just looking for you. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you. And here it is. No. I get that, and I appreciate you, and I thank you for making me and everything. But I don't want people to think that I'm disrespectful of what they believe, and I don't want to be on my own. I don't want to be without my friends. I don't want to be without my family. I don't want to be without everybody else who's on social media. I don't want to be without the views that I get. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I allow them to still be in. I know that you want me to be your one and only, like you want to be my one and only, but I'm not really trying to do that right now. You have rejected knowledge, and since you rejected knowledge, he rejects you. And he says, that's not my child, because how can that be my child if we never laid down with each other? That must be the Satan's child, but it's not mine. We've gotten to a class of punishment. And it's going to sound weird, because I know some men run off at the mouth at this, so I know, sisters, you have to give me a little bit of your trust in this, to where I'm not saying this to try and get you to, I'm not saying this to hurt feelings or to make anybody frustrated or to, to give further misogyny, right? But watch this. Yah is supposed to be married to us. We as his wife have decided that we need to do other things. If we decide we need to do other things, he cuts us off. He allows us to go ahead and have a reprobate mind. It's punishment. I know you don't want to hear that. I didn't say Yah's about to start putting his hands on you. But what I'm saying is that when Yah leave you alone, now you want to come back to the house. You can't come back in here anymore. What you mean? You my husband, this and that. But no. You wanted to be out with them. And we sound just like the people that we say are not great wives. Oh, so what you know all the stuff I do, and you know this, and you know how many men would want to be with me and this and that. He's like, I'm not concerned about other men. We supposed to be in this, and since you don't, so guess what? Look, I'll make sure that you still alive. It rains to the just and the unjust. I'll get you. I'll let you live out there. Matter of fact, go ahead and get in somebody else's house. Do this, do that. If you ever want to come back and be my wife, as dirty as it is, just according to Jeremiah chapter 3, read Jeremiah 3 when you get a chance. With this context now, right? But according to Jeremiah 3, it's awful. How bad does it look for a husband to have his wife cheat on him, leave him for another man, right? And then also want to come back. But in Jeremiah 3, he says, but still, I ask you to come back. I want you to come back and be my wife. Even though you dirty, even though this and that, I will wash you with water by the word. I will purify you. I will love on you. And I still want to become one. Even though you decided to dirty yourself and become one with somebody else before you became one with me. That's our Father. That's why in our community, we don't have no problem with, a real man doesn't sit there and go, oh man, you know what, she's 35 and she's got 3 children. She's not she's not worth anything. She's not a high value woman. And I'm a high value man. No, y'all says, even though you went out there, I'll still clean you up. That's our Father. That's our example. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? That's how we roll. That's how he rolls, so that's how we roll. Right? So, that's why we don't do this weird thing and get into this weird red pill debate type stuff and get into this whole sprinkle versus whatever the male version of it is now and all this stuff like that. Right? We don't get into all that. Because what Yah says is his will for us. And we don't want to ever fall short of it. Okay. Hosea chapter 4, verse 2. Fine. So Hosea 4, verse 1 says what? It says, hear the word of Yahweh, ye children of Yahshua, for Yahweh hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Elohim in the land. Verse 2, since there is no intimacy, there's no truth, and there's no what? Mercy. Won't even give each other mercy. Uh-oh. There's no truth. There's no mercy being given. There's no intimacy. Verse 2, by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out. They got away, and blood touches blood. They even take each other's lives. Right? They even take Hebrew or Israelite blood. They take each other's lives. Right? Black on black crime, whatever you want to call it. Right? I know the black on black crime comes with a lot of extra conversation we got to have. But the blood is touching blood. Verse 3, therefore, because of this, it says, shall the land mourn. Now, this is something that's very important. You recall that when Abel has his life taken by Cain. And hold on 1 second for me. Sorry. Hold on 1 second for me. Okay, excuse me. So when we are, where were we? So blood touches blood, verse 3, I'm sorry. So it says, therefore shall the land mourn. So Abel when he is taken, Abel when he's off by his own brother. Abel's blood touches the ground, and it says that his blood was having conversation with Yahweh. It cried up from the ground. Right? And we talked about before, even when our sisters go through their period, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, but the blood crieth up from the ground. The egg that's supposed to come into being, it has no life in it because the zarath, the seed, the sperm, doesn't touch it, and therefore what should have had life becomes lifeless. This is magnified. Trigger warning, sisters. Trigger warning. Amen. Trigger warning. So I'm going to talk about an unborn child not making it all the way through gestational period. So trigger warning. Give you a chance to go ahead and get off if you'd like, or prepare yourselves. Trigger warning. So even when we have an unborn child that goes through gestational period, it becomes harder on the mother, not just because the mother is not going to be able to see her child go all the way through, but also because that child, parts of that child's body have begun to meld with the mother. And so she's going through an extreme version of a period. And the blood cries up from the ground. Her womb Her body is the garden, right? Hey, how you doing, Auntie Mary? Her womb is the garden, right? And so her womb is the garden. And so every time, right? That's why even, not just only, we only think physically. Physical is the manifestation, the physical manifestation. But there was a spirit that was being housed inside the mom. Mom Avda is a character that literally means, is one of our 22 characters that literally means the water, the blood, and the spirit. There was water inside her, there was blood inside her, there's spirit inside of her, and it melds with her in those ways. She has a soul tie, right? This is why no matter how many of that A word that you have that rhymes with extortion, no matter how many of those that you might have, you will always have a soul tie because something was inside of you. Even a lot of people don't recognize this. They're just having sex with men because sex is marriage, marriage is sex. You meld with them and become one with them. Or even, a lot of people don't recognize that on top of that, not only that, but that means that every single child, whether you were allowed them to come through or they didn't make it through or they did make it through, every single child, you are tied to that soul. That's the way that works. How you doing, Action Jackson? Thanks for being part of the community. So that is the way that works. So the blood is crying up from the ground. That on top of the fact that obviously, yes, like, the wall inside, is breaking down as well, and stuff that was prepared for the baby is now leaving, and so she's going through. But the blood is crying up from the ground inside of her. The Bible declares that going on with Abel, and how the blood cried up from the ground. Here in Hosea chapter 4 and verse 3, it's telling us specifically that the blood that has been shed, that we have shed of each other. Once again, lack of information puts you in the class that you're in. There's a punishment that comes with that now the blood is poured into the land. And so the blood from the land is crying out. And Yah has to be the judge. Yahweh has to look at this blood crying out, and he has to say, okay, what am I going to do with this? Amen, Samana. Amen. Right? He has to look, how you doing, Sister Shima, at all the things that we cause to have brother go against brother and sister go against sister. He has to look at all the things that we did to demean each other and hurt each other and yell at each other and cuss each other out. He has to look at all the fallacies that we tell. He has to look at all the ignorance. He has to look at all the things that we did to get away from his word and get away from his truth and begin to do our own thing and get further away from what he wants from us as a people. And as he looked at that, and as he looks at how much blood is on our hands, this is why you have to be careful about how you talk about murderers, because when it comes to the murderer, you murdered people with your tongue before. You got to be careful how you talk about the person who cheats, because just about everybody, if not everybody, I know there's some people on here, I never, but if you've thought about having sex with somebody who is not your spouse, you committed adultery. If you've spoken ill upon somebody's life and they were anointed by the Most High and you didn't know what was going on, you just started talking bad because everybody else talked bad. He said, don't touch my anointed. You put your tongue on them, you touched them. Yeah, untamed tongue is pretty bad, right? Can you please ask a question? You can ask in the comment section, sure. And how you doing, Cheryl? Hopefully I said that correctly. But you have to be careful with all these different things that are going on. And so we have rejected intimacy with Yah and have gotten further away. And now we cause a lot of destruction and put ourselves in a certain class. Once again, information or even lack thereof will determine the class that you are in. Right? The information, right, or the class. If we want to see what class you're in, let's see what kind of information you have. It's not really that deep. If you want to see what kind of information, right, somebody's dealing with, let's look at the class that you're in. If I can see the class, if you want to see the class that somebody's in, rather, let's look at the information you've been given or what you haven't been given. Can I explain Matthew 5:44 for your debate? I'm not sure what your debate is about. Can I explain Matthew 5:44? I'm not sure what is the exact debate about. and we'll see if it actually kind of jives with what we're talking about today. I'm going in my head too far, because Matthew 5:48 is where it says, "Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven also is perfect." Matthew chapter 5 verses 27 through 32, we're dealing with marriage. Matthew 5:33 is where it starts saying, "Let your yea mean yea and your nay mean nay," and that's like verses 32 through 37. So I'm having a little bit of something up in there where I'm missing it. But and how you doing, Etherin? Now we do Q&A sessions, but today's not really a Q&A session. We will have one on Sunday, but I'm not sure. I don't mind debates, but I kind of have to know what we're dealing with. I guess if you're talking about the love your neighbor part, but that's verse 43, verse 44. "But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, and do tabah to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." Well, basically there's levels, a whole bunch of levels to it. I don't know exactly what you're trying to proclaim, but basically I'll just say this real short. And it does kind of go with what we're talking about, so I'll spend a brief little bit of time on it. But Matthew 5:44 basically saying, that you've heard, and I watch this once again, "Ye have heard it been said, love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy." You have heard it been said. Yehoshua says this quite a bit in his teachings, and especially in it. But he says a lot of times in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5, he says a lot, "You have heard it been said." Doesn't mean that this is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Doesn't mean that people are using the original, or sometimes even saying this is the law. Now recall this, he's correcting people who have gotten away from the law, or people that are using the law viciously to come against people, and he's correcting it, right? He's telling people, for example, Matthew 5 verse 3, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." At that time, they would have thought if you were poor in spirit or not knowledgeable, or as knowledgeable as the religious leaders are, who held a lot of knowledge, who held a lot of truth from people, they would have thought that they were not worthy. Because remember, even the Pharisees at that time, they didn't even believe that heaven existed. Like, they believed that heaven existed not, or it didn't exist, the afterlife didn't exist. They believed that what we saw was it. So they were teaching a whole different type of doctrine. And you're dealing with Hellenistic Jews as well, not even the same type of Israelites that you and I would think of back then, or even of the ones today. So they were thinking there wasn't even an afterlife. So blessed are the poor in spirit. But Yehoshua says, "Blessed are you, even the poor in spirit, because you can learn, you can grow. The kingdom of heaven belongs to you." Hey, man, you mourning, you crying, your life is bad. Man, you must be really bad. Well, blessed are those that mourn, for you shall be comforted. Oh, man, you don't even know what it is to be in right lawful standing, to be righteous and stuff. Well, blessed are those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for ye shall be filled. Right? He's shifting stuff, including, hey, man, they say all bad stuff about us and this and that, and they try to say this, that, or whatever. Well, he says, well, blessed are you when they revile you and say all manner of evil against you for Yahushua's name's sake. Why? For they did the same thing to the prophets that came before you. So when this happens, rejoice and be exceeding glad. Right, then verses 13 through 16. Well, we're just going through, it's just the minutiae of life. It is what it is. He said, no, ye are the light of the world. He's reversing. Right, you get to verses 17 through 20, he starts going back into prophets and law. He starts in verse 17 by saying, blessed are the, verse 17, do not think that I come to destroy the law of the prophets. I came not to destroy, but I came that it might be fulfilled. Right, then verse 18, and fulfilled means to be put into effect. And when you even look in the Greek, it even means to live inside of, and it to live inside of you. Doesn't mean to be over, right? Verse 18, he says, until heaven and earth pass, should not one jot or tittle, you break that down in the Hebrew. That means the most minuscule of measurements, or even the way it's written, should not change until heaven and earth pass away. Verse 19, he comes behind that and says what? Verse 19, he makes it a point to say that if you teach people not to follow the law, and you don't follow it yourself, you're the least in the kingdom of heaven. If you teach people how to follow the law and you follow it yourself, you're considered to be the greatest. Verse 20, he says that you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. Verses 21 through 26, you go there after that, and it's talking about law. It talks about if you have an issue with your brother, it starts going back in the law. And if you have an issue, make sure you get over it and make sure you get this stuff together. Because if not, especially if it goes before a judge, you'll have to deal with stuff, and you can even be put in prison until you can pay everything back. Because whenever you go to prison or to go to jail, you are a slave. If you are a slave, you're in debt, and you have to pay your debt to society. Verses 27 through 32, still talking about law, where he says, hey, be careful about all this stuff that you guys are getting into, and start looking at marriage more properly, and even realize that you want to stay away from from not only just adultery, but fornication, because both are ground for you to lose your marriage. A lot of people don't know that adultery is not the only thing, but fornication is a false image of marriage. Right? It's from the Greek word porneia or porneia, which is where you get your word pornography from. So pornography is not just only the physical images we see, but also spiritually, mentally, even by the law. What is the image of marriage that we should live by? Are we living by false images or graven images of what marriage is, right? So he continues down this road. You get to verse 33. Verse 33, I believe, is where he starts talking about your yea mean yea and your nay mean nay. Is that correct? I think so. Or you don't have to swear. Yeah, that's right. Don't swear by heaven. Don't swear by this. Don't swear by that. It's verse 37, excuse me. Let your communication be yea, yea, and nay, nay. For whatsoever is more in these cometh of evil. Then he starts saying, once again, you have heard it said, an eye for an eye, which, by the way, is an apocrypha, right? So it is scripture, but you have heard it said, right, that an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But he says, that ye resist not evil. But whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also, right? And then that gets into a place where people argue about that. Oh, so you're just supposed to get slapped and this and that. No. It's a context, right? The context is that if you're going to help somebody, if they hit you before, then you have to realize you got to go in with the mindset that they could try to strike you again. But it's a different mindset, right? But he's changing, he's shifting the way that people are thinking about things and how some of the religious leaders have taken the law and started using it for themselves. Remember, they didn't follow the law as much as they made traditions of their fathers and had everybody else follow it. So you keep going through all this stuff. Then verse 43, we get to a place where once again, ye have heard that it hath been said. So he's correcting what people have done with the law. So you heard it said, right? Not even saying it's a bad saying. He's just saying you've heard it said. What? Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy, which, by the way, the word hate means to ignore. It doesn't mean to be angry with or beat. But a lot of people, once again, take this out of context. So verse 44, but Yahushua said unto us, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do tabah to them, which is the word good, but tabah is different. I will explain in a second. To them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use and persecute you. What is that? So what is he saying there? Not even what are we saying? I don't want to opine. I don't want to give you what I think. Let's say what this actually would break down into. So, but after all that we just talked about, here's the correction. I say unto you, love your enemies. Sure. Bless them that what? That curse you. Okay. So love, achabach, love is what? Love is an action. Do I give the same love to my child that I give to my wife? Of course not. Do I give the same love to somebody else's child that I give to my child? Of course not. I'll treat them fairly. I'll give them all stuff, whatever. I'll even pay for things for them and everything. I'll travel with them if I have to and stuff. We'll watch, we don't really do watching of children that much because we travel a lot. But still, if we can, sure, we'll watch them. We'll make sure that they have that. But real talk, I'm not going to love them on the same level as my child. That's not my responsibility to. Now, if I have to, because I have to have them in some kind of adoption, that's different, right? But I'm not going to take something, right? Or watch this. Would I love somebody else's parents as I love my own? If I go to a nursing home, I'll preach to your parent, and I'll help them with things, and I'll make sure I feed them the way that I would feed my mother, right? When she was on her way out of this earth. I'll do the same. I promise you I will. That being said, though, just because I love them, I'll never love them like I love my mother. I can love them in that moment, but I can't dedicate my whole life. I can't leave everything I'm doing and every 2 weeks, no matter where I am in the world, come back just to make sure I feed my mama. I'm not called to do that. I can't even do it. I can't do it for every single person I come into contact with. There's levels to it, right? So if I love my enemy can be loved. But here's the thing about love. I can only love you where you allow me to love you. And I've said this plenty of times. And people kind of don't like it when I say this, but this is reality. I can only love you where you allow me. You could be my mama. But mama, if you won't let me feed you, I can't force feed you. Right? How you doing, sister? Listen. Right? You could be my sister. I love you with all my heart, but I can't love you past what you'll allow me. Right? My son will get to be an adult. And when he becomes an adult, I can't love him outside of what he allows me. I can only give him knowledge and stuff like that, and now it's on him. I'll try to aim him in the way that he should go. So when I let go, he will not depart. But I can only love him where he is, right? So verse 44. So, but I say unto you, love your enemies and barak and bless them that curse you. So I bless them that curse me, sure, but also too those that curse me, I'm not hanging out with them. You see what I'm saying? There's levels to it. So those that curse me or whatever, sure. Like there are people who've been cursing me all day on social media. We're on 5 platforms, right? So there's people who come on here, been saying stuff about me, cursing me out, making fun of me, trying to say that I'm evil. There's people who've come on here before saying that Jesus Christ. There's been people on here who have said the N word and literally spelled out nigger, N, then I, then G, then G, then E, then R, so that they couldn't be reported and stuff like that. I mean, there's people doing all types of wild stuff, right? And you'll never see me cuss them out. You'll never see me fuss them out. If the Holy Spirit gives me utterance and allows me to, and it's going along with what we're teaching, we can use it as a teachable moment sometimes. And it might not be comfortable for that person, but I don't come out of character, right? Because of these things. I love them, but also, too, that doesn't mean that once I'm finished showing them love, that it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to invite you over to the house. Right? How you doing? Is it gangster wifey? Okay, hey, how you doing? Right? So I bless them that curse me. I do taba, not good, but taba, because taba is the actual Alpha word. Good is a way of saying God. God in Germanic language, right? Gad or God in Hebrew is actually talking about a family, part of the family of Israel, part of the 12 sons, the 12 nations, right? But God in Germanic language, or good, it's the same word. They're basically saying that this is anything that you can work, that you want to worship, right? So, but here it wouldn't be good. In Hebrew, it would be the word taba. Do taba. That means do moral things, do constitutional things. So do moral things or constitutional things. What is constitutional? Constitutional according to what we claim to be our canon, right? So do biblically constitutional, or biblically moral, or kingdom moral type things to them that hate you, right? Because you don't fight hate with hate. You hate me, I'm gonna hate you. No, I don't. I'm not love. Elohim is in me. Elohim is love, and He's in me. Then that means I must become love. So if I discipline you, or even if I separate myself, I'm gonna do so in love. I'm gonna do so with proper actions. I'm gonna do so with achaba, with Elohim's actions, right? So do taba, moral things to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. I can pray for you. I can pray that Yah help you, that Yah bless you if you do what Yah tells you to do. I can pray that reminders be heaped upon your head, right? But I'm not praying for you. I'm not praying that, hey, Yah, we're going to go ahead and be connected as this person keeps on beating me. No. This person keeps bullying me. No. This person keeps doing crazy things to my family. No. This person keeps stealing from me. No. Like they're breaking the law. So, yeah, I'm asking that you protect me in law, but I'm also praying for this person. I'm praying that you begin, or that as you continue to give structure and things around them to remind them that they need to come out of this world, I'm praying that they come out the world. I'm praying that they get, but I don't have to, there's levels to it, right? And then lastly, and persecute you, right? I pray for persecutors all the time. And by the way, when you pray for them, you know that not only it's only saying pray, you can pray for them, right? You can pray for them like, okay, watch this. The government persecutes. Right now I'm in the midst of doing stuff with my whole neighborhood where they're really trying to mess with our people, right? And trying to take homes and all types of stuff. And we probably would be straight, but we're actually doing our best to make sure that like others that are going through and things like that, that we're all kind of working together as one, right? So we're getting persecuted, right? At the same time, though, if the mayor, whose parents, believe it or not, are in the same neighborhood, he gonna make sure they're all right, though. But if the mayor were to come through, and not his parents, his grandparents, he raised them like they were his parents, right? But if the mayor were to come through, and he was going through something, and y'all said pray for him, I pray for him. Even if he allows us to be persecuted. Right? Like that's the law. And that's what I live by. I'm governed by. Somebody asked me a long time ago, how is it that we can do this? Or how can we be somebody said, how can you become your better self? Or how do you start working towards developing your gift and becoming your better self, something like that. It was a few days ago. And I made it a point to say that it depends on your standard. You live by a standard that's higher than you. I'm not in control of anything, including myself. And people go, well, you're supposed to have self-control. No. Self-control was added in the word. That word self-control there was actually temperance, which means your temperament or the temperature, right? You can have the thermostat in you, but the thermostat that's in me is the Most High Yah in His Word. So I'm not in control even of my own life. So yeah, I want to fuss somebody out every live session, but I'm not in control. If I was in control, a lot of you probably wouldn't watch me, and I'd probably get a lot of different views. And probably, to be honest, they'd probably give me a lot more views because I could be the person that just argues and wins debates and says, oh, I'm going to debate everybody every day and will probably win 99% of them and stuff like that because I could find a way to be a wordsmith, and even if I don't know what I'm talking about, sound like I know what I'm talking about. But that's not what I'm called to do, right? And that's not the lane that I reside in, nor should it be. And I praise y'all for that. So that's what that scripture, means within itself, right? And by the way, let's just add verse 45, and then we can go back to Hosea chapter 4. Let's add verse 45 real quick onto that. It says in verse 45 that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. Ultimately, once again, we're not in control. Who is your Abba? Who is your source? Who is your Father, right? So that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, because anything else means you have to be somebody else's child, like we're talking about today, right? That how can he reject you if you're his child? Well, if he never knew you, if he was never intimate with you, if you never had relations that caused you to carry fruit and give and have children of your own, then they're not his children, they're the children of the devil. Because not every creation is his child. As it tells us in Genesis 3, that he's going to put enmity between the seed of the devil and the seed of the woman, the seed of the wife, the seed of Yahashua, the seed of the kingdom that's in you, your seed. He's going to put enmity between you and the devil. You can't be in the same place. Right? So back to Matthew 5:45 real quick, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh this sun to rise on the evil and the to bow. So just because the sun's rising on everybody doesn't mean that you're not evil or that you're not to bow. Right? And sendeth the rain on the just and the unjust. Right? And then I like the next part. Luke chapter 6 actually does a better job at this, but I'm going to just throw this in here for your own reading, for your own studying. Luke chapter 6, starting like verse 32, is more expansive on this part. But Matthew chapter 5, verses 46 through 48. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? If you, right? Watch this. Do not the publicans do the same? In other words, the politicians that we say we hate so much, do they not do the same thing? Right? You talking about all this stuff you got love for people that got love for you, and you hate people that hate you and stuff. But do not the publicans? Don't the politicians that you say that you hate, they do the same thing that you talking about? Verse 47, and if you salute your brethren only, if you only salute, if you only give props, if you only say peace, shalom, that's what your salute is, right? Our salute is to come in and say shalom, right? Raishan shalom, Shabbat shalom, Pasachi shalom, right, etc., right? We salute, that's our salute. So if you only greet or salute people that are your brothers only, what do you more than others? Do not the publicans, even the publicans. So do not the politicians do the same thing? Do not politicians recognize how to take care of their family? Right? I take care of my family. Luke 6:32 through like 36 or 37 or so goes more expansive into it, right? But verse 48 of Matthew chapter 5, and then we'll go back to Hosea. Matthew 5:48, it says, Be ye therefore perfect. What makes you perfect? The law that Yahashua said that he came to give, right? And to expand, that we shouldn't let go of. Here's Matthew 5:48. Be ye therefore, because of all these things that he's preached so far from the Sermon on the Mount, starting in Matthew 5:3, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father, which is in heaven, is perfect. You have an opportunity to be perfect, as he does. And what the publicans do, that's not the bar, right? What your Republican Party does, what your Democratic Party does, is not the bar. I'm on. Excellent question. So back to Hosea chapter 4, we're in verse 3 again. It says, Hosea chapter 4, verse 3, therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwell therein shall languish. They shall go through some stuff. And dwelleth therein shall languish. Watch this. With the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven, yea, that means even, yea, the fishes of the sea shall also be taken away. Because you have decided to reject the Most High and stay away from being intimate with Him, everything that's supposed to be in the land that was blessed, now becomes cursed. It's a punishment. You're in a class of punishment. And once again, when we're talking about the class that you're in, we're talking about the information you do or do not have. Rich folk got rich information. And people get mad at it, but that's the way it works. And if rich folk, especially if these rich folk or rich people or rich individuals, rich persons, if they would grant you some of their knowledge and listen to what they say, even if you don't like everything, even if you're not going to do right, I'm here to tell you, look, okay, watch this. And this isn't even because I'm rich, it's because of military stuff. And when you're in the military, you get to have some rich experiences sometimes, right? If you want to argue to me what the best pizza is, let's make it simple. Let's do something real simple. You ready for this? Amen, Sister Sheila. Man is not their standard. Let's say, okay, what's your favorite? Put it in the chat. It don't even matter. You don't have to put it in the chat. Your favorite pizza might be Little Caesars. It might be Domino's. It might be Pizza Hut. It might be And Pizza. What's LeBron James one that's picking up steam? Whatever that one is. It might, and I know it's not his, but he got a ownership stake in it. Whatever your favorite pizza, I don't even know if I hit the major ones, all the major ones. I feel like there's one more major one I missed. Maybe you like back in the day. I don't know if they still have it. I know there used to be one across the street called Jerry's Pizzas. Whatever it is, right? You said Marcos. Okay, I don't even know what that is, but okay. Maybe you like mushroom. Is it mellow mushroom? And they do pizzas there. They're all right, depending on which ones you go to. I didn't even know they really had them outside of Georgia, but I saw a few of them in different places we traveled to recently. Like whatever it is, right? Papa John's, whatever your favorite pizza is, right? Let's say you like New York style cheesecake. New York style, that's my vice, sorry. New York style pizza, or you like Chicago deep dish pizza, or maybe there's California style pizza you like, right? Whatever the case might be. If you were to have an argument about it, right? Okay, cheese pizza, whatever, mushrooms. Hopefully you gotten past pepperoni and sausages and Canadian bacon and all that stuff, right? But you like chicken on it. Matter of fact, sometimes when I do pizza, the only one I really can eat nowadays. I can't even go back to other pizzas unless I'm going to an actual pizza spot, like a for show. We go an Italian straight up pizza spot. I can't really do anything outside of usually, or at least I'm not gonna like it. Outside of what is that? Like buffalo chicken. That's like become my new thing now. Like I don't know why. It's like I don't even know who decided to do it, but it tastes amazing to be buffalo. Is it buffalo chicken pizza or something like that? Anyway, right. That being said, I had an opportunity to travel when I was younger, and I was in Naples, Italy. That's a Navy base in Naples. I wasn't there before a hot second, but I got a chance to have pizza, and I was freaked out by it at first. Because everybody was telling me, you go to Italy, you gotta have real Italian food. If you get a chance to actually have like spaghetti or actually have like something like that, and I'm like, spaghetti pizza. I've had spaghetti pizza my whole life. They're like, no, you've never had spaghetti until you've had somebody who's true Italiano make it. You never had pizza until you have somebody who's really Italiano make it. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, there ain't nothing like New York. I mean, I grew up young. When I was younger, I was raised in New York. So I'm like, New York City, deep dish, get it right off the corner. Like, right? Like even Italian people be messing with it. I was thinking it's gotta be. And then you get over there though, and you see the pizza, and you're not getting what you're expecting. You see a pool, what looks like a little pool of liquid in the center of it. I was talking with somebody about this recently when we were, traveling still. And I was like, what in the world is this? Right? But they make the pizza differently. And you got the oil and stuff in the middle of the pizza. And you eat it, you're like, oh, This is pizza. I had no clue, right? This is pizza, right? I had no clue. This is what you're supposed to have, and you're supposed to, this is supposed to be in the middle of it, and there's supposed to be seasonings, and you're supposed to eat all night long, right? You're not just supposed to eat for a little bit. Like over there, if they eat, we eating, right? Like be ready to sit here for a few hours. If we say we eating, we eating. Right? It's a family affair, and we eat. If you go to a restaurant, they gonna be chilling with you. The restaurant, they're expecting you to be sitting there for a minute. Don't come in this restaurant like you do in the States, right? Where you come in the States and you trying to just be in and out, in and out. When we come in here, we guarantee we gonna be here 3-4 hours, especially if it's late. And they might not start eating until like 11, 12, right? It's the culture, right? So when you eat, there's also a culture that goes along with it, right? Now, a lot of people would say that's news to you. Well, guess what? Because we're not, and I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I told you I was ignorant of this myself at the time, and I was freaked out when I saw it, but I was not informed. You see what I'm saying? I was not informed, and so the information I had me in a different class. So now that I know that there's a certain class of pizza, I still eat pizza, right, from time to time, but I can't really ever equate it to actual pizza in my life because somebody gave me some information. So if I ever get to a spot in life, so let's say I can afford to hire a chef or something like that, have somebody who lives at the house, and I say I would like to have some pizza. They're going to have to be able to make that type of pizza because I might as well pay cheap prices for stuff that's not even real pizza. Like once you've had it, look, I'll be honest, I still like every once in a while, give me that New York style, give me that Chicago deep dish. And by the way, Chicago folk don't even like deep dish. That's an interesting thing. They don't even be eating it as much as we do. That was wild to find out. but, but still, right, give me, I can't go back because I've been informed of what this actually is. Right? There's certain things like when you get certain things in your life, people will say, people will tell you, and you don't really get it until you get there. You be thinking people are bougie, you just like these rich folk, but they have information. And so watch this. When they sit up there and they go to certain places, right? Real talk. When they get ready to go to the when they get ready, you said thin crust all day. I see you. You said when they get ready to go certain places and they travel first class. People tell you this, by the way. If you really want to improve your life, when you get on the plane next time, as much as it's going to cost you extra, travel first class one time in your life. When you travel first class, you will work your whole life to make sure that every time you travel first class. If you have to travel another way, you will. But you'll try to every time. You'll work harder. Why? Because traveling first class is not like traveling business or traveling whatever. They might as well call it third class, but right? Right? When you travel business class or first class on a train, you'll never really want to travel the same way on the train again. Yeah, coach, right? You'll never want to travel coach again, right? Why? Because when you travel somewhere, when you've gone on vacation, and if you can afford a little extra instead of spending 100 and something a night at a hotel or a motel for 80 something or 50 something a night, if you've ever been able to experience being put up inside of a house, and even if the house is on, right, and you experience that, right, and then if you pay for it yourself and experience it, it might be cheap might be 200, 250 a night, but you will try your best to figure out how can you make that happen. Why? Because you had an experience, and that experience told you, oh, this is better. If you travel something, there's people who never travel. Like, in Baltimore, there's a lot of brothers and sisters never left. A lot of brothers that be thinking you doing something special. You like, man, I'm gonna go to DC. DC, you on vacation? DC an hour away, but there's a lot of cats that never experienced that. If they can't get to it on the bus or the train or don't have enough money, right? They don't have the information. So for them, DC is a big deal. Some people, somebody, by statistically speaking, somebody who's listening to me or will listen to this recording, statistically, there's somebody who's never been to a beach. You get some information on the beach, and that right, and then on top of that, like watch this. When I was a child, we used to go to Virginia Beach. That was a big deal, right? That was a huge deal. Once, if not twice, maybe even every once in a while, maybe 3 times, maybe even 1, 2, or 3 times a summer, we might go to Virginia Beach. And no shade to Virginia Beach. I like Virginia Beach. I don't like the water that much, and the sand is kind of, it's a man-made thing. And there's a lot of pollution there as well. I'm not trying to like make anybody feel bad. I lived in Virginia Beach for a while. That being said, when I was coming up, hopefully we can go to Virginia Beach. Oh man, that's so great. We can go from the DMV, take a 2-hour trip down, 2.5 hour trip. I mean, that's vacation. But then you go to an actual beach, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm talking about this an actual, like a real show enough, not polluted beach. I'm talking about you go to Kanaoe. I'm not even saying that correctly. Or you go to, which is on the Oahu. Or you go to Pearl Harbor, which, is a solemn place, but then places around there that are beach. Or you go to the main island of Kauai, and you go to the beach over there. Or you go to Maui, and you go to the beach over there. Or you see black sand, right? Because it's built as the earth was created in Genesis, where the earth comes up out of the water because it comes out of the volcano. Or you go to Pensacola in Florida, or you go to the beach in you go to Jamaica, you go to Ghana, you go to South Africa, you go to Nigeria, you go to Accra, you go to where the Black Star is and the Freedom Square is in Accra. You go to certain things like that. You travel and you go, oh, like these are beach. And even though in Ghana, I'll be honest with you, the place that we went where Freedom Square is very polluted. I'll be honest with you. But even in all that, you go and you're like, oh, like I didn't know this was like what beaches, like clean, natural, straight up, not man-made. You know what I'm saying? Or if you ever experienced going somewhere, you go to an actual like straight up creek and not like the little dribbles and stuff, but we talking about like creeks that like are deep and stuff, or you go to like some of the stuff that's over in they call it a beach, but it's more like a creek or a river. But you go to the one in Arizona, Sedona, right? You go there, oh, okay, this is real. Or it's like you thought that you've seen cliffs before, but then you go to the Appalachian Mountains, right? You go, oh, okay. Or you go to Billy Goat Trail, oh, okay. Or you go to, been there twice now, I can't recall it. Or was it once? I think we only really been there once, but we've gone through twice. Grand Canyon. Or you talk about you seen trees, and then you go and you see the highest trees and some of the biggest trees, if not the biggest trees on earth, the redwood forest, right? You start going to some of this stuff and you say, oh, okay, right? Go to the Bahamas, right? Caribbean, etc. You go to different places, you go, oh, okay, like this is different than what I'm used to. This is an actual beach down here, right? You go to the Everglades, oh, okay, like this is actually there is beauty in the swamp. I see what they're talking about now. Right? Like you go to different places and you see things. Yeah, you drink from a spring. You go to Jamaica, you drink from the actual spring, from the actual stuff, right? Like we were when we were there in Jamaica, we actually took showers and stuff in the water that was naturally coming down. Right? You could shower off in it and even filled our water up. Right? And you drink it like it's a different experience. You'll even come back, you'll be like, ooh, this water doesn't even feel right when I'm taking a shower. You have to like get used to, again, unfortunately, to like the shower water that you're getting, or you have to find ways to be able to be creative in getting all the gunk and stuff out of your shower head. Right? But you gotta be willing to receive and ready to go through this and get that information. Once you get that information, it becomes really difficult to go back. Right? Our people are being destroyed because we have no intimacy. We have no information, and even when we're given information, we reject it. So somebody tells you, hey, build your business up so that we can help build it up. Somebody says, no, We reject it, and then we say, see how they want us to be bad, but wait a minute, where is your business idea? And why have you not presented it? And why are you not making sure that we're going, and why are you not building on something that your child can take and continue the business? Right? I'm not saying that there's not racism. Right? Yeah, and we're quick to reject it too. I'm not saying there's not racism, right? But we're in a position now, can't no white man stop you from starting your business. If you're part of SOC, you know why I can say that? Because anything that you say, even if you say you will start it, we can start making sure we support it. We have people that'll be lined up for when you start your business. Right? You can't say that you can't build up your own community because there's people here that make soap. You use soap all the time. Why aren't you getting it through us? I didn't say we make the money off it. Some people do give tithes and stuff off of it. Praise y'all. That's how it's supposed to be. But I'm not even saying we make money off it. I'm saying there's somebody in here right now that has soap that will trump any soap that you're using. We put it out there. Guess how many people ordered and got the number? Not because that person doesn't make soap, it's because we rejected it. Then talking about why you can't build, you could build your own community today. There's somebody in here right now who does herbs. We know the main person, my wife, right? We have people in here that do herbs and do everything and can literally look at what your doctor said. You can send them what your doctor says. She can read your chart. Look at the medication that you're doing and tell you this, and probably be able to help you within a week of stuff that you haven't been able to take care of for years, right? But you're sitting up there saying, well, we can't do this without health insurance, this and that, or whatever. Why? Why is it that even if you had to pay $60, $80, $90, $100 for tinctures to use them for a couple months and see what happens, isn't that cheaper than you paying for insurance, paying $200, $300 a month? Invest it in your community. We have people in here who do food, and some of them can even send you the food. And if they can't send you the food, the ones that can't, some of them live in your community. If you're in North Carolina, there's not one of you that can't go without a natural dessert. It can be set up for whatever you're doing, whatever ceremony you're doing. If you're doing a graduation, if you're doing somebody's born day, whatever. There's somebody in North Carolina that's not that far from you, right? Set it up for you. The Carolinas, set it up for you. If you're in the lower half of Virginia, set it up for yourself. Right? Sow into them. And yeah, if you got to travel an hour, travel an hour. Some of you will travel 30 minutes for your cake anyways that you're getting. Might as well travel an hour. And sow it into your community. And because you're part of the community and because you did that for them, guess what? I bet you they'll put a little extra something on there for you anyway. Right? Because that's how family operates. If you're in Chicago, you got Bruda right now who can send you a bunch of stuff as far as egg rolls and different things, and can send you the pizzas and stuff like that, the unleavened bread pizzas and stuff if you're into that stuff. But right, and when we say egg rolls, it has lamb inside, it has chicken inside, it has beef inside, right? You can get it with cheese, without cheese, all those different things or whatever. He shows you how he makes them. So literally, just like you watch people when you go into the restaurant, he literally puts it on Facebook when he starts making it. So when your order is being made, you can be like, oh, okay, yep, he washed his hands, he did this, he dipped it in this. Like you can literally see all the stuff right there, right in your community. Make the vegan rolls also. There you go, right? You have it right in your community, and yet we'll pay a whole bunch of money to go to Costco for them to make a knockoff version that's not going to be as great and got all types of preservatives and all this stuff. And by the way, it'll be half cooked. So by the time you get it, all you got to do is put it in oil, or if you want to do the air fryer. I know some of you don't want to do the air fryer. I don't use the air fryer, not just because we don't really need it. Right? I also heard some things about carcinogenic stuff. I don't know, but that's alleged, I guess. But either way, whichever one you can use, the air fryer or your regular fryer, put it in. You have this stuff right there. You have people in the community that can go and look at land and tell you if you can build and stuff on it. You have people that do air vacuum or HVAC in your community, right? And will travel to wherever you are to help you put it in. And even sometimes, if you're part of the community, say they'll do it for free, you better not let them go somewhere though, and they got to pay for their own place to stay. Because they're being nice about it. They're like, I'm just telling you, sow something, right? Sow a hotel or give them a room or something, and they come in with their family. So make sure that it's going to be him and his wife and his child. Okay? Right? But I'm just trying to tell you, you got people all over the place. You got people that are waiting for you to move because they want to sow money into you. You have some people that don't tell you how much they make, but they just waiting for you so that they can sow into you. But we keep saying why we can't do it, and we keep making every excuse. We keep saying we're too busy, we're too this, we're too that, right? But here it is. You have been given intimacy, knowledge. You've been given a family to move with, and we reject it because we got all these different reasons. Once again, yeah, I would be one with you, and I would be one with the community, and I would sow in, and I would give this, and I would make sure I give my heart, and I would make sure I give my business, and I would make sure I do what you called me to do, you know. But I got this on Saturday. Where is our organization located? Our family located? We're all over the place. I guess if you're saying where am I mainly, I'm usually mainly on the East Coast. More than likely going to be like Baltimore, D.C. area or Atlanta, Georgia. But we have people that are all over the place, and we are looking at getting our Zoom stuff back together for the different areas so we can get back to having everybody physically meeting over and over again. We're having all these meetups, and we need to make sure that we remind ourselves it's not just virtual, this is reality. So at some point, even soon, it's been suggested to us, and we're going to look heavily into the suggestion. I'm not sure what days of the year yet, or what dates, what months. So just kind of hang in there with me for that. But for those of you who are going to be faithful, even if nobody's faithful to be honest, we're looking at some point having some kind of regular services where I'll be at in DC, well, in like the DMV, Baltimore area somewhere. I'm not sure where exactly yet, but we're looking at doing something regularly on weekends, and I'm not sure it'll be every weekend yet, or it might turn into every other weekend. And then as we go, like when we travel to Atlanta, Georgia area, and we spend some time down there, making sure that we can kind of do something like that. But also too, we want it to be something that's continuous. And as we go to certain places, it depends though, you know, once again, but on those two, even if people don't show up at first, we're going to try to get those to get moving. But the main thing is to get it to go. And by the way, even that in faith, right? If I know we got to get back to the word. We're turning away a little bit, and we don't have that much time left. However, let's not forget that a lot of this stuff is going to show up in faith. I'm going to tell you this. I preached a lot of sermons where 0 people showed up. I preached a lot of sermons where, 5, 10 people. I thought I was doing it big when I had about 40 to 50 people in a location. I thought I was doing it real big when we had 1,200 people just on TikTok at one time, and we had 40-something thousand people that were watching. They took that stuff down, right? And I'm not talking about just the numbers down. I'm talking about they literally shut the channel down, right? I thought we were doing real big when we were on YouTube, and I might have a video that I might post and I could get, 1 million views. And then they took that YouTube channel down, right? But I've learned and realized that if you're faithful over a few things, including if nobody shows up, if you just do what you're supposed to do, right? And you be faithful, Yah will bless your land. He'll bless what you have. He'll bless what you have going. He'll bless your mind. He'll bless your heart. He'll bless your spirit. You got to hang in there. You got to be continuously, right? Continuously hang in there. Anyways, all right. Praise Yah. Now you want pizza? Sorry, I just saw that. Excuse me. So Hosea chapter 4, now verse 4. So watch this. Yet let no man strive, nor reprove another. Watch this. For his people, for his nation, as they that strive with the priest. So we got to make sure that we catch this, right? We got to catch this now. Let's not strive. Let's not get caught up on some foolishness. Are you hearing this? Are you hearing me? Right? Let's not strive. Let's not reprove. For this people are as they that strive with the priest. So here's the problem. Remember we said tonight we're talking about a class of punishment. How do you get put in a class? Because of information or lack of information. Your punishment comes from your priest. Or it comes through your priest. He said buffalo chicken pizza for lunch. Amen. Look, and thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Look. Watch. Your punishment comes through your priest. If you want to come out your punishment, you follow. See, look. Let's just make it is what it is. This is why we told you need a pastor, and we talked about that you need pastors after your own heart. We talked about that a long time ago, but it's still relevant today, correct? Your punishment comes through your priest. Your prosperity, I don't mean your money, I mean your ability to push through comes through your priest as well. I know you don't want to hear that, but for those of you who believe in the holy days, that's why we have a Day of Atonement. Right? Now, Yahushua is obviously our high priest for real, but what did we do on the Day of Atonement? We have a high priest. The high priest is supposed to go in on behalf of the people. And if the people don't do well, the high priest, he absorbs the shock. He loses his life. He said the building is useless if you're not living the life once you hear the words in person or virtual. Praise Yah. Right? So, your priests are problematic, and therefore they have caused you to go through punishment. A problematic priest leads to punishment of a people. That's a tongue twister right there. A problematic priest leads to punishment of a people. Problematic priests lead to punishment of people. Yeah, but it's true. A problematic priest, a preacher, a pastor, a minister, an evangelist, a judge, an officer, a deacon, whatever your commission is, whatever your office is, and really not even your office, what your calling is even, right? Your priests have become problematic. And that's an issue, my brother, my sister. Your priests are problematic. Problematic priests, right? Have caused punishment for your people. This is what's really going on, is that the word should be coming from the pulpit. The word should be coming from the leaders. The word should be coming from those pastors. But once again, what happens when your priests have been raised by problematic people and problematic priests themselves? What happens when the Levites, what happens when the PKs have been raised by the PKs? So verse 5, therefore, because of that, thou shalt fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night. Everybody's going to fall, right? You will fall in the day. Those who prophesy, those who proclaim, those who preach, they're going to fall in the night. And I will destroy thy mother. Even your mother going to have to fall victim to this. Your mother who's unprotected. Your mother who, Deuteronomy 28 verses 50, I think verse 56 declares that your mother, that our wives, that our women have gotten to a place where they don't even want to live the house. And when they leave the house, because when they do, it says that it hurts the bottom of their feet. They don't even want to go out because they feel so unprotected. It feels so harsh towards them. It's so volatile. That's why many of them have decided to go ahead and just not even act like sisters anymore. Not act like women anymore, to be very harsh, because they're so unprotected. If an unprotected woman, right, a woman's number one and number two need is security and affection. If you're not going to give her security and affection, then she's going to make sure she gets it from somewhere, including if she gets it from herself, including if she gets it from other women, including if she gets it from, as much as some of y'all are going to like this, I'm not here to talk bad about it, I'm just saying some of you are so against this. But let me tell you, if she goes to another race to get it, it's because she didn't get it from you. For those of you who believe that she can only be in one race. If she goes to another religion to get it, you can't be mad if she goes to another religion to get what you can provide. I mean, I'm just, right? Like, our sisters, our diaspora, our sisters are leaving biblical teaching the most and going into witchcraft more than any other group of women. And we don't ever think to ourselves, we just go, see, that's so terrible, and look at them, and blah, blah. We never think to ourselves, are they not looking for protection? If they're not protected here, they're going to find it somewhere, at least try to find it somewhere. Even those of you who don't, and obviously at SOC, we don't have this belief, but even for some of you that don't believe that a woman should preach, well, if you don't preach the truth, then why would she not say there's a need for it and try to preach it? I'm just saying. So verse 6, that's why it says, my people, my nation are destroyed. And this word destroyed here is actually the same word that they use for when you don't keep the holy days. It's the word. It actually should be my people are cut off. Salah. Isn't it not interesting that Yah says keep the holy days? And if you don't keep them, you'll lose who you are. When you lose who you are, you will utterly be cut off. And then he says the same here about your knowledge. It says, my people are cut off. We use the word destroyed. My people are cut off for lack of intimacy, for lack of knowledge. Once again, if you're not going to be intimate with me, I cut you off. Matter of fact, you cut yourself off. Here's the Most High laying in the bedchamber, saying the bedroom is undefiled. Let's get it on. And you say, no, I'd rather be with somebody else. You reject him. You reject intimacy. You reject knowledge. So it's difficult reading. Yeah, it is. But that's why we got to come out of it. We got to make sure we recognize what's going on. We're in a class. We become a class of what? A class of who? A class of what? We're in a class of punishment. So not just destroyed. It says, my people are cut off for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected intimacy, rejected the knowledge. So because you rejected him, I will also reject thee, because you rejected me first. So I really have no choice. If you're not going to lay down with me, I can't lay down with thee. That thou shalt be no priest to me. You are no longer priest to me. So the priests you're under, they're not mine. I'm just letting you know. Thus saith the Lord. They're not my priests. Seeing that thou hast forgotten, you've forgotten what? Here's the part that they don't want to tell you. They want to keep you away from. This is why you got to be careful about anybody preaching a message that keeps you away from law. My people, see, this is why I tell people, you got to be careful. These people will preach to you and tell you, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. My people are destroyed, but for a lack of knowledge and knowledge. No. Yah says, my people are destroyed. My people are cut off. My nation is cut off for lack of intimacy, because thou hast rejected intimacy. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Why? Seeing thou hast forsaken or forgotten the law of thy Elohim. That means anybody who's telling you to be lawless, they are cutting you off. That's right. Come on, come on, big sis. Beware the leaven of the Pharisees. Beware those stumbling blocks, those stumbling stones even. That I mentioned in, what is that, Romans chapter, is it Romans chapter 7 at the end? Maybe it's Romans chapter 6. So it says here that we are destroyed, our nation is destroyed because we lack intimacy with the Most High. We have begun to reject it. He has rejected us. And it says we no longer don't even have priests, because the priests are preaching and telling you to keep rejecting the law of our Elohim, the law of our Abba. And as we keep rejecting his law and asking him to bless us at the same time, we can't figure out that that's double-minded, that that's the cognitive dissonance, that is not the way. How do you become a follower of the way, but you don't follow his ways? How do you become a follower of what you reject? You know, when you're a United States citizen and you reject United States citizenry, they put you in prison. Salah. He said anybody who's telling you not to follow the law, they are cutting you off. I've already cut them off. They are not my priests. If you will listen to the one that tells you not to follow the law, they are not mine. You are following somebody. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I'm sorry, Minister Tamara. Great question, though, in case somebody's coming on. Eject, right? Remember, eject. What is to eject something? If you got a tape, we got to go back to those of you who are old school, right? Some of you are too young to know about this. It's crazy that this is something that is not used anymore. But, you know, we used to have cassette tapes and VHSs and 8 tracks and things of that nature, right? And I know 8 tracks are a little before my time, but I know what they are. I've seen them used, right? But you had these things, and you would inject something, and then you would eject. You can go to your if you go to the doctor and you get your jab or whatever, then they inject something into you. Yeah, I know, right? There was a time I could have never seen past the VHS. Even when I saw them doing the big disc, I saw the big disc before they had the CDs and stuff. I used to see the big disc floating around, but it was still crazy. We stayed VHS until we finally couldn't do it no more, right? And then DVDs and CDs came, and now nobody want to do that at all either, right? Some people still keep the records, but that's few and far between. Anyways, though, right? So to jet something is talking about like the placement of it or the pushing it, and to eject it means I'm putting some force behind it, right? So to inject, to eject. Now, if I've ejected it, but it says I rejected it, it means over and over and over again. If I rejected it, it doesn't mean it's happened once. It's happened more than once. Then I've pushed it out, right? Right? And so a lot of people have ejected what Yah has given. Yah tried to eject it, and you rejected. Yah tried to give it, and you gave it right back. Yah tried to say, you need this, right? Yah, like the little baby with the fork with the baby food, and you try to put it in, and the baby spits it out, sometimes playing and laughing, right? It's not that you didn't get it, it's that you rejected. It's not that it wasn't ejected, you rejected, right? Just like we talked about sieve and receive. It's not that you didn't sieve, did you receive? It's not that, right? If I sieve, if I give, then I shall receive. Or if I've sieved something before and I give again, you can even think about it as I receive again, right? But if I see, when people say, I receive it, first thing you got to do is sieve it. You got to go through the process. Is it worthy of sieving? If it's worthy of sieving, then why not keep receiving, right? If it's worthy of ejecting into your life, then why not? Why are you rejecting? Okay, I'll leave that there. Hopefully that explains it some. I know I'm not using the exact 100% definition, but prayerfully that explains it, right? So if I'm rejecting, right, it means that I've done it before. And so Yah says, these priests who are telling you not to follow the law, they are not mine. They have not only ejected, but rejected. I've given this to them before, and they keep throwing it back in my face. I've given them the ability to have knowledge or intimacy with me, but they keep saying they don't want it. He said, when you hear these priests that are preaching, do not follow the law, he says they are cut off. And if you listen to them, you shall be cut off. Recall, the word destroyed here, you can even see it in your 1611 King James Version. If you have a 1611 King James Version, when you read it, read right there in Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. It'll have a tav right next to it, or a T or a cross right next to it, and look over to the side where that tav or that T is, and you will discover that it tells you that when you see that word destroyed, it means to be cut off. The same words that they're using when it says if you don't obey the holy days. Why? Because the holy days provide information. You don't believe me? Okay. How do you know that Christ is your atonement and you don't know how the Day of Atonement works? And you don't know what the high priest does, and you don't know what the veil, the relevance of the veil was every year, right? How do you know how to handle Pentecost and not think that the Pentecost is just a Pentecostal movement, not recognizing that Pentecost is a lawful thing? See, people will say craziness like, oh, well, in the Bible, in the New Testament, because somebody wrote in the words New Testament, there was never any words in there until recent times called New Testament, but nevertheless, you'll say, well, in the New Testament, it means, and when I say recent, I mean I'm talking about relative to time, to all the time that we've been here, right, on the earth, right? But you'll say, no. The New Testament says that there's no law. There's no law mentioned in the New Testament. Time out. Pentecost, Acts chapter 2, they were following the law. They were following something from Leviticus. They were following something from Exodus. It told them specifically to make sure that they had the Feast of Weeks, that they had Shabbat, that they made sure 49 days, that's 7 weeks, the Feast of Weeks, 49 days after Passover, after the 14th day of every year, right? The 50th day, the day after the 49 days was up, that we were supposed to celebrate, and it was our harvest day, and we would give honor and glory to Yah. So when the people came together on one accord and of one mind, guess what that meant? They came to one accord and one mind to celebrate their holy day, or the Most High's holy day, called Shabbat. You call it Pentecost instead of Feast of Weeks or Shabbat. You call it Pentecost because Penta just means 50, because it's the 50th day if it's the day after 49 days or the day after 7 weeks. That's why you call it Pentecost. There's not a Pentecostal movement, and therefore there should be a Pentecostal church, especially because the word church comes from the word cirque, which means circus. But there's not a Pentecostal movement. The Pentecost is a holy day, and we kept it every single year, 50 days after Passover. It was guaranteed. 50 days after Passover, 43 days after the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we came together to celebrate Pentecost. You have been waiting for Pentecostal movements, and waiting for people to speak in tongues, and waiting for people to come together in one mind and one accord, and waiting for thousands of people to be added to the assembly every day, but you won't do what those persons did. Peter, when he started talking to them, was talking to them as they were celebrating Pentecost, the holy day that's from your Bible. When Paul talks about what you call a communion scripture, they never use the term communion, by the way, but you call it the communion scripture. Some of your Bibles even have communion written in it. In the bold, you know how they do that? You got to be careful how people do this stuff. You know, like there were no chapters, no verses in the Bible, and sometimes they'll try to split stuff up on purpose for you to get outside of what the Bible is actually saying, and that you won't get it and be in sync with it, right? But the reality is that Paul talks about this. Paul talks about in First Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23. You call it the communion scripture, but it's not communion scripture because they didn't do communion. They did Passover, and Paul describes Passover meal and what happened during the Passover meal. You know how we know it's a meal? Because he said, if you're hungry, first eat at home. Don't come here trying to have a Passover meal, right? And if you're hungry, we're not eating this to get filled. We're eating this to recall and to do this in remembrance. And if you don't do this, you'll be cut off. And many of you are what? Because you are cut off and you do this, you are what? You are eating damnation to yourself. And many of you, because of this, are what? Asleep. Many of you are asleep, he says. Many of you are not even righteous. Many of you do not have the actions of the Most High. Many of you don't have the energy that you need when it comes to what Yah has. You are cut off. You're not even doing. You're going through the motions. Many of you are asleep, are slow, are not able to get what you need out of this because you're not coming with the right state of mind. You're trying to do communion every first day of the month. Why? Because you come from people who have that tradition. You're trying to do communion when you feel like it because that's what the Roman Catholic Church does. You're trying to do communion on certain worldly holidays that the Bible says not even to participate in. The Bible tells you clear as day, Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 through 5, stay away from Christmas. Do not be like the heathens. Do not be afraid of the change of the seasons. Do not go out into the woods. Do not hire the axeman. Do not have them go out into the woods. Do not chop down the tree. Do not drag the tree back in. Do not make sure the tree stands straight up. Do not make an idol out of it. Do not paint it silver and gold. Do not make sure it's nailed so that it doesn't come down. And you can't wait to sing silver and gold. Yehoshua wasn't even born then. He's born on the Day of Atonement, which once again, you don't even celebrate. But then you'll say he's your atonement. How is he your atonement and you don't even celebrate the Day of Atonement that you might be able to have the information? Once again, what puts you in the class that you're in? It's either the information you have or it is the information that you do not have, or sometimes, as these priests are doing, the information that is withheld from thee. Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. I mention it quite often. Let me read it this time. Right? Not coming at you, by the way, just... We're running out of time. I apologize. I'm excited about it. Oh, I'm not coming off like I'm yelling at anybody. If I am, please forgive me. It is not my intent to do so. Even though righteous intent doesn't always mean that we're righteous. So forgive me if I'm wrong. Watch this. Jeremiah 10, 1 through 5. We'll make this the last thing for today. We got to get ready to take our leave. Right? Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1 through 5. Hear ye the word. Here we go again. Hear ye the word which Yahweh has said. Starts off right off top. Hear ye the word which Yahweh speaketh unto you. Who is he talking to once again? Not everybody, because the Bible's not written to everybody. So who is he talking to? Yehoshua. You got to be Israel or graft in. You got to be kingdom or graft in. You can't be just some random person out here talking about, I'm going to read this, right? Okay, so hear ye the word. Hear ye the Zarah. Hear ye the seed. Hear ye the Safar. Hear ye the Kephir. So many of you say the scrolls. Hear ye what this scroll of Yahweh speaketh unto you. O house, O bait, or bits, O O bit of Israel, house, family. Remember the word house and family, same word. O family of Yehashadam. Verse 2. Thus saith Yehovah. Who? Thus saith Yehovah. Who? The same Yehovah who you're supposed to be listening to, right? Thus say him, not Kofi. This is what he said. Learn not. Don't even learn it. Don't even be educated in it. Okay? You ready? Learn not. Do not even be educated in what? Learn not the way of the heathen. Now, he's not just talking about all heathen, by the way. He's talking about any person. Well, first of all, we shouldn't learn the ways of any heathen, but he's going to be talking about this tree, which you're going to see in a second. But you have to recognize that the heathen, in this particular instance, are people where you're dealing with Saturnalia, or you're dealing with people that's dealing with Norse theology, or you're dealing with people who are Wiccan, or into witchcraft, or those who are, who were the ones that used the Hollywood? The Druids, stuff like that. These persons, and a lot more, by the way, and then it spread as colonization spread as well. Germanic peoples believe this, etc. Right? The Visigoths and those who become French in Normandy later and stuff. All these persons believe that when winter, right? So during the winter time, they believed that because the sun was out shorter times of the day, that meant that there was this bad spirit or this bad deity, sometimes even Odin or Thor, right? But people of that ilk, and they believe that like Halloween or Hallows Eve during that time, that goes into Ireland and Scottish as well. So it's a lot of different persons and tribes we're dealing with, but had similar stuff. Well, Yule all going into Yule stuff like that, going into even Christmas and stuff like that as well. Exactly right. Thank you. So like the Yule law, people don't know where this stuff comes from, but you would have this time where basically things were getting worse. And it meant that around the time of Halloween, which is their harvest day, our harvest day is Pentecost, coming up June 16th. Their harvest day is October 31st. And the church started trying to say that was their harvest day too, which is why a lot of y'all have harvest day. But all it is just a way of doing pagan stuff and allowing people who are pagan. That's why they do harvest day just like they do Easter and Ishtar instead of actual Passover. Because a lot of people show up for Ishtar because, hey, eggs, bunnies, the same things that we do. People get to come here, wear your bright colors, this and that or whatever. It's a way where you have your big time. Everybody gives an offering, this and that, but then everybody doesn't come back until next year. So kind of same stuff that happens when you see your harvest day and your children get to wear costumes and everybody still gets to dress up and people are dressing up now like Dorothy and dressing up like this and dressing up all this stuff and dressing up like, Wizard of Oz characters and the Wiz and dressing up like they're like Iron Man and Spider-Man. And hey, well, they're heroic. They're heroes. Well, heroes, you're dealing with Greek philosophy, but nothing has to do with the Bible. A lot of stuff like that. But anyways, these heathen, particularly during Saturnalia or during this the winter solstice, right? They believed that things were getting worse, and the sun was going away, and it was going to be at its lowest point. And when the sun was at its lowest point, that's when these their bad spirits, their demonic spirits, that's when they come out during these times. So they were afraid of the changing of seasons, especially if you know how things work. They at one point only had 10 months and not 12. So they actually had to figure out later on what days they were in and they would shift stuff. That's why history is actually kind of sort of hard for a lot of European places to find out when it happened because you don't even know really when it is sometimes. Even in Rome, they had this issue as advanced as Rome is. They even had the issues. Julius Caesar is the one who actually corrects it finally and gets them a proper calendar. If you don't believe it, look at, and forgive me, it's 10:58. We might go a couple minutes over past 11. Okay, so please forgive me if I do. But Julius Caesar, if you count because you use the Gregorian calendar now, if you count your months backwards from December, you start at 10. December, Dec, 10. November, Nov, 9. October, Octocon, right? 8. September, Sept, 7. Then you get to August, that's after Augustus Caesar, the adopted son of July, Julius Caesar, right? He named those two after him and his father. But then you go back again, June, you're back on track. 4, right? You go back to, then you go May, that's 3. You go to April, that's 2. And then you go to March or Mars, right? Mars, that's 1, right? So, and then February and January added later on for some other things, right? But that the rest of it doesn't matter as much for that. So you're actually dealing with people who were afraid and didn't know what to come, and everything seemed like it was just going all over the place, right? Then they finish these so then they would finish with that, or to make sure that they could get through it, because they believe, like, for example, Thor. You think that Thor could fly in the comic books? He would take the hammer and he would just go like this and go around and he would lift up into the sky. But Thor, um, actually never flew, and he didn't. By the way, not like he didn't. He couldn't pick up the marvel because the hammer because he was worthy. Thor, in actual theology, could pick up the hammer because he was one of the only people strong enough to be able to handle it and handle all the power that it gave him without it hurting him. Right. So Thor, that's why he picked up the hammer, right? But he also had two goats. One was like Tooth Grinder, and the other was Tooth Gnasher or something like that, and they would fly, right? Odin also was a raven, or he could turn into a raven, just like Zeus could turn into an eagle. So Odin could shapeshift, and he a lot of times was a raven, and so he would fly. Those of you who played God of War, you know that Odin, from God of War Ragnarok and God of War, the one right before it, whatever that was, you know that Odin could fly, right? Or Odin would turn into ravens. The reason why they do the ravens so much is because Odin could turn into a raven. So when you see Santa Claus is flying, Santa Claus, eventually they added all the stuff in and created the mixing of iron and clay to make it acceptable for other people to worship that were mad that they were having to give up their religiosity, right? But if you go on, I've talked about this before, if you look on YouTube, look up a show called Futurama. It's not too old, but it's, it's not around anymore. But it's spelled Futurama. Look up Futurama, Futurama. And when you look up Futurama, you will discover that, I'm sorry, and type in Futurama Santa Claus. And when you type in Futurama Santa Claus, what you will discover is that you'll see something on there that basically shows that shows that Santa Claus is evil, because they used to literally believe that Santa Claus was evil because he represented Odin, and Odin was somebody that we're afraid of. He also could represent Thor. If you saw Odin and Thor flying, especially in the worst time of year and the sun was down, it was game on, right? So what do? You have to stay inside. So what do you do to stay inside? You go inside your house, and you would bring something alive. You would go down into the woods, and and there were axemen that were hired to do so, right? The axemen were the ones, not everybody chopped down trees. People who were axemen chopped down trees, right? So the axeman goes into the wood, and he chops you down a tree, and he drags it to your house, and then you make sure that it's stood up, right? And it's usually going to be an evergreen tree, because you want a tree that lasts, right? So you bring a tree into the house. That's why you guys like to have like the pine type trees for your Christmas trees, and you have that, and then you would stand it up. And as it stood upright, usually it might even have certain things on it, but to imitate fruit or things like that should have life, you make sure that you would put little bowls or different ornaments and stuff like that on it, so that it would look like there was some kind of fruit on there to represent life. Maybe you even put candles and stuff on it to burn a little bit and stuff, try and imitate life. I mean, it was really stupid to do in a lot of places because you could burn your house down, right? But some people might try to do that, or put a lantern on it or something like that, and then you would put, you would dress it up to where you had life inside. You made sure you nailed it so it stood straight up, because you didn't want to just have it laying down. That's dead. So you have it where it's staying straight up. You have all the stuff, and then even painted silver and gold. Silver and gold having to do with different things, especially Babylonian, especially Medo-Persian. I'll leave that there though, right? But you've got all these different things going on together. All of a sudden though, eventually, because the tree has been cut off, right? The tree has been cut off from the ground. It's going to start to what? It's going to start to deteriorate. It's going to start to die, right? So because it's going to start to lose its life, what happens? It starts to shred apart, and when that thing starts to fall down, you got to get it out your house, because you don't want death in your house. This is why a lot of people, even if they don't know why, a lot of you still get frustrated. You say that Christmas tree's been in your house for too long. Get rid of it. It's part of the it's part of the custom, that you wouldn't let this thing that you brought in to have life, but now it's starting to shed, and now it's starting to have death. You don't want that to remain in your house, right? You said 7 years ago when you put up a Christmas tree, you cats tried to climb and knocked everything off. That was it. Praise God. Amen. Right? But that's where that comes from. So when you read Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1 through 5, right now, let's read it once again. And it's the last thing for today, and then we're done. Thank you so much for being on. Hear ye the word which Jehovah speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Jehovah, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Right? The choir, the atmosphere that we look up into. Don't be shocked by stuff changing. For the heathen are dismayed at them. Verse 3, for the customs of the people of the nation, of those nations, the heathen nations, are vain. They are empty. They're like vapor. Why even deal with it? They're empty. They have nothing for you. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen, with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails, and the hammers that it move. I'm sorry, and with hammers that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. So he's talking about these are even idols. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do tabah, to do what is righteous. Right? So there's even people that will argue this is talking about only idols only. But this is obviously talking about, it's not just talking about idols only, right? Because idols are not only just made out of trees. We could just talk about they were graven images out of wood, but this is talking about during the changing of seasons that they get afraid, right? This is a very particular thing. So even if somebody wants to give you the argument this is about an idol or the Christmas tree, who, once again, if you're worshiping it or using it to ward off things, it becomes idolized. Either way, we recognize that this is something we should not do. All right, but thank you all. I appreciate you. We're a few minutes over. We're supposed to stop at 11, so I will not belabor it any longer. I apologize once again about last night. There's 2 evenings that I was not able to make. Had some family stuff that just had to attend to. Nothing bad or anything. Just I had to make a decision. Either take care of family or try to delay some stuff that might take 2 more weeks for me to get done, and spend some time with family. I was just like, you know what? I'll just do what I'm supposed to do as a father. So I will do my best to make sure I'm on this evening. I apologize for not being on last night. I got to get ready to take my leave anyways. As you can hear, there's some work already being done. So I got to get ready to go outside and start getting to work. But I thank you all. I appreciate you. We honor you. We'll be back on tomorrow. Elder Amma and myself will actually be doing the podcast tomorrow. So prayerfully, we'll see you guys tomorrow for our for the live session at 8 a.m. We'll see you on the podcast, and you'll get a word from myself and Elder Amma together at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time. At 11 a.m. Eastern New York time, we'll have our Shabbat school for the children. 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time tomorrow, we will have our SOC community meeting / it'll be the last part of our watch party. We'll finally be finished with the trilogy, and then we can go ahead and make way for some other things, maybe some more fun things, and then also to watch party later on about some other different things that we can watch. So we look forward to finishing that up tomorrow, brothers. At 7 p.m. Eastern New York time, we will have our men's meeting, so hopefully you'll join us for that. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. We honor you. Take care. We want you guys to be blessed. Do everything in your power to enjoy your day. Have fun. And we're thankful and grateful to each and every one of you. So we'll leave it there. Thank you again. We appreciate you. Pray for us. We do got to do some stuff here, and then we should be traveling later on. So prayerfully, you guys will more than likely see us from actually the same location that we'll be doing our from the same place that we will be doing our well, I won't be inside, but from the same location that we'll be meeting up for our I'm sorry, the same place that we'll be meeting up for Passover in person, if you're coming in person in Maryland, Atlanta, Maryland. So, but thank you all. Appreciate you again. We honor you. If you want to join us for the shout out, we'll have the shout out up. It'll be a quick shout out today. Thank you guys. And those who know how the shout out works, you guys just go ahead and do what you do. And we thank you guys again for being on. We appreciate you. Hopefully this information that you got today helps you, blesses you, helps to keep you on track. And we will be talking with you guys soon. And thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. Keep us in prayer. We'll keep you in prayer. And we'll see you guys this evening. If for some reason we don't see you this evening, early Shabbat Shalom according to the Gregorian calendar. And we really, really hope that you have a great day and are getting some stuff out of this word that Yah has been given to us. And we thank you again. So thank you, everybody, whether you joined us on the podcast today, whether you joined us on Clapper, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We appreciate you. We look forward to talking to you guys soon. Remember your affirmations, Romans 8:1, 11, 18, 19, 28, 37 through 39. And we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, check her out on TikTok, YouTube, our website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you, everybody, again, for being on. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Early Shabbat Shalom. We'll talk to you soon. There's a praise on the inside.